Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay! Oh my goodness, you have no idea how tenuous this episode was, how precariously this thing hung by a thread. We are officially hitting record here and starting at 12:27 a.m. So you're going to get punchy James and Jimmy today is what you're going to get. Punchy Crime and Sports.
I don't know whether to be angry or thankful.
It's travel disasters, but we're getting an episode out. We don't care.
No.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for everything you've done for us this week. First of all, if you haven't done it yet, all the people who have done it, thank you for your reviews on Apple Podcasts.
You're amazing.
They really, really help a lot. We don't know why.
Yeah.
We have no idea why, but for some reason, those reviews help a lot. Give us 5 stars. Doesn't matter what you say. Say, they made us do this. Right. We're following instructions. Doesn't matter. Yeah. It's not for our egos. It's for business purposes. I think you can do it on Stitcher too. So if you listen on Stitcher, do it there. Wherever you can review, it helps a lot. Also, go to shutupandgivememurder.com for everything crime and sports and small town murder related. Mm-hmm. And if you're not listening to Small Town Murder,
what's wrong with you?
You're missing a boat here. Yeah. It's a beautiful boat with lots of good food on it and stuff going on. It's a fun boat. And you're just like, nah, I'm going to sit here. It's like a rotting dock. You're just like, I don't feel like it. You're missing a party, damn it. Get on that. Go listen to Small Town Murder right now. But not actually when you're done with this episode, though, because this is one of the craziest episodes we've ever done, by the way. It's a wild, harrowing tale of insanity. Death-defying does not even start to begin to tell you about this.
Well, that'll keep me awake.
You're going to be awake through this. Both of us, it's going to be awake just through the story itself. From this insane story. Also, if you want to be one of our heroes, shutupandgivememurder.com, by the way. See, this is what happens when we're punchy.
Right.
Almost forgot. Get all your merchandise there.
Do it.
Tons of new stuff up there. Also, tickets to the one live show that's for sale right now. By the way, we're supposed to be this week getting our slate of 2020 shows.
Awesome.
So we'll be able to announce to you very soon in the next couple weeks. But the one show, April 8th at Zanies in Nashville, Crime and Sports Live, still has, I think there's like 20 tickets left. So get your tickets right now and let's get that thing sold out. Everything else, all the Small Town Murders are sold out for the rest of the year.
You guys are unbelievable.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for everything you do. And if you went on social media and heard any of the people who went to the Phoenix show, Crime and Sports Live is insane.
It's a blast.
You want to be there. It's Crime and Sports with you turn to 10 and then the knob broke off like an old radio set. Break off the knob. And that's like a shitty old radio station. Like on Family Guy, they would do that. Turn it up and break the knob off. It's imitation of some shitty, cheesy radio.
WZZZZZZAM.
This morning radio. Turn it up and break the knob off.
WZAM.
One of those. Imagine if we had to do that. Imagine if we had to do like a goofy one. We'd be this tired, except we'd have to not say fuck that. That'd be the problem.
I don't know how those people do that.
I don't know either. But also, if you want to be one of our producers, you can do that very easily. One of the people who we gush about at the end of the show.
Keep us from doing that.
Yeah, keeps us from doing that. Thank you for that. That keeps us from being not a morning zoo.
Right.
We appreciate it. You guys, you can become one of these fine people over at patreon.com/crimeinsports or head over to PayPal if you want to make a one-time donation using our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com. And you can get to both of those right from our handy-dandy site, shutupandgivememurder.com. And honestly, every dime is so appreciated. And you're the reason why we'll, sit here at 12:27 a.m. and go, I guess we're recording this now.
Without you, who gives a shit?
That's the thing. Yeah, we can push sponsors off another week or whatever, but we feel bad not giving you guys an episode. So you're getting an episode, damn it, and you're getting one of the craziest episodes we've ever had. And it might be, I didn't look it up, I can't remember if it's him or Leslie Hylton is the oldest, the farthest back we've ever gone on.
Oh, cool.
But he might be born earliest of anybody else in crime and sports history here.
Right.
He definitely has 3 firsts that he pulls off, this guy.
Okay.
3 crime and sports history firsts, this man. So it's a wild one. Buckle up. It's appropriate. He's a race car driver, so it's appropriate.
Were those available in this time?
That's the thing. Not really.
No?
This is before safety precautions. This is when multiple people died in every race. And it was like, well, I mean, what do you expect? Of course they're going to die.
I don't know.
It's insane.
The heartless side of me makes that more fun.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's the thing.
They knew the fucking risk.
These people were nuts too.
Yeah.
They were all crazy. Let's talk about it. The guy's name Cavino Michel Petillo.
Cavino is his first name.
Cavino, Cavino. Michel Petillo goes by Kelly Petillo. That's what everybody knows him as.
May as well.
But he's born in 1903. So back then, you want to de-Italianize that as much as you possibly can as well. You want to let's anglicize that a drop. What do you say there, Chief? It's just not really good for back then. And that's the funny thing too.
You get the word that the Olive Garden will use as a pasta dish. The fuck out of your name.
All you can eat Cavino. That's all you can eat baked stuffed regatta Cavino. That's comes with unlimited salad and breadsticks. Right. You eat that and you break the knob off. That's how you do it. God damn it. So Kelly Petillo, it's funny too. This guy back then. Now Italians everybody eats pizza all the time, and people eat our food. Everybody's seen the movies, and we're pretty much in American culture at this point. But in the early 1900s. We were still definitely an other type of thing. In every single article about him, it starts out and they'll give some adjective like he's kind of chunky. So they and most of the time they'll be like the doughy Italian, but Jesus. He's not born in Italy. He's born in Pittsburgh, but he's the doughy Italian. They call him
That's
awesome. The Italian from Los Angeles. It's insane. It's weird as shit. Yeah. It's just funny back then. I mean, they didn't call him the N-word in the paper, so that's better than if he was black, probably. But still, it's not great. It's not terrific.
We did find out the origin of Dago this week.
We did. We actually did. That was good because there's just tattoo parlors with Dago tattoos in Texas. We're like, what the fuck?
With a Z,
hey,
right?
fuck you, man. Yeah, we were like...
I was like, which one is worse, Dago or WAP? Because WAP is just pronouncing the
Dago
acronym on something.
And
Dago felt a little more angry.
They usually go together, though. Right. It's you WAP, Guinea, Dago, bastard. Right. It's a whole... It flows,
with bastard on the end, that's when you know it's the insult.
You can throw other ones in there, too. There's a bunch of other ones in there.
But we found out that it's essentially the same as calling every Mexican guy Diego.
Yeah.
Because that's a Mexican guy's name.
Yeah.
Diego, it translates to James.
Yeah.
It's extra.
So it's extra. It's a direct insult.
I was like, I feel like Dago is more insulting.
Yeah. Not just an insult to the people, especially a Guinea named James. Especially him.
Whoever loves that word hates my co-pilot.
That's right. Back then too, that's amazing. It's true too. We looked it up driving through Texas because there's not a lot else to do driving through Texas. So except get speeding tickets for
apparently
false speeding tickets for speed shark. We're not going to talk about the speeding ticket because we'll talk about that at live shows this year. That's fine. We have plenty to discuss there. So back then it's funny if you look at articles about Joe DiMaggio when he first came up in the late 30s. There's an article in Life magazine about him. It's a famous article where it's the funniest thing. I mean, to me, it's funny. I'm sure there's old Italians that are probably insulted by it, but to me, whatever. And it's like, you would think that he likes this, but he actually likes Chinese food and he doesn't even smell like garlic. That's literally the end of the first paragraph. And he doesn't even smell like garlic. Isn't that amazing? He's a filthy Guinea and he doesn't even smell like garlic.
No lasagna in his pocket.
So, he doesn't even have the dried pasta in his pocket that we've discussed in multiple episodes when they came over. They were like, empty your pockets. They're like, what happened? Oh my goodness.
He was Italian and he was not sucking a muscle.
They're looking at him. They're like, well, boy, I don't know. He's greasy. I know that much.
Tavis pockets. Is it hard? Is it crunchy?
So, Kelly Petillo here, born December 5th, 1903. So, Jesus, I don't remember I think Highland maybe 1901 or something, but it's right up there for oldest. Born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which back then is one of the places Italians used to go when we were first getting here back then was, because there was work in factories and mines and shit like that. So, Pennsylvania was a lot of Italians all across Pennsylvania.
For blue collar shit.
Oh, absolutely. All throughout throughout even rural Pennsylvania, Scranton and places like that, full of Italians, just tons of them. And that's very common. So he's born then. His parents are from Italy. Obviously, they came here. It's Luigi and Rosie Petillo.
The fuck out
Oh, no,
of here.
Luigi's his father's real name.
And his mom's name is Rosie.
Rosie. It's a Luigi and a Rosie. They come on over. They go to Pittsburgh. Oh, it's just so nice. Oh, it's so nice. They're going to root for the Bruno Sammartino in about 70 years. It's going to be so nice.
It's so stereotypical.
Oh, it's a very
This is incredible.
Yeah, this is the stereotypical story. This is where I always say stereotypes are. I don't like it when people are like, it's a stereotype. Yeah, they're a lot of times true for reasons. That's why they became a stereotype. Not always.
No.
Some things you can trace back origins and you're like, oh, that's ridiculous, obviously, so whatever. But some things are fucking true.
Right.
And there are
super goddamn true
Italian people named Luigi who came over and had kids in Pittsburgh and then moved to California to establish a grocery store.
Wow.
That's what they did when young Cavino was little here. They moved to California out west in 1910.
Yeah.
That is the Wild West
boy.
still. That's still the Wild West. Wyatt Earp is still alive.
Absolutely.
Put it that way.
And he lived in L.A. at
That's
that time.
what I mean.
That's crazy.
You could literally run into Wyatt Earp. So
at your grocery store.
At the grocery store. We're talking a car driving by, be like, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
That's the time period. Literally, like, holy shit. Wow, cool. One of those again. Oh, whoa, look at that.
He might actually pop in and buy something from your store.
That's what I mean.
Because he needs water.
You see a car go by and you go, it doesn't even shit? That doesn't shit as it goes? Wow.
That's bananas.
Cool. That's fucking awesome, man. My horse shits all over the place. I'm going to get one of those. So you're talking about a different time, a time when Italian people moved to Compton, because that's where they set up their grocery store. Where they lived was in Compton,
unreal,
in L.A. there. So that's
think it still exists?
No.
In the building?
No. I'm sure it was burned down in a riot at some point. I assume. I don't know.
Reginald Denny was beating the fucking bread aisle?
After Koreans took it over 50 years ago when the Italians moved out or something. I don't know what happens here. That's how things work, apparently.
Some bricks through the window, for sure. Yeah.
Italians are always it's weird. They're the minority bellwether. Not that they're minorities, but they're the minority for bellwethers. And back then, they're the bellwether of the minorities, basically, of back then. Okay. They're the canary in the coal mine. Wherever they go, that's where minorities after them come.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Spanish Harlem used to be Italian Harlem.
Okay.
And then Italians moved out, and everyone came from Puerto Rico and the Dominican, and they moved in there, and that's how it worked. Like, the Bronx, Italian neighborhoods that were Italian neighborhoods are now other ethnicities neighborhoods. That's how it worked. Wherever they came first, they were like the first ethnic kind of, not the first, because there was Jewish people here. There was just less numbers of them.
Right. There was just the first of mass quantities in a specific area.
And we're not talking about Germans and Irish, because if you're German and Irish and if you can speak English, I know there's a lot of anti-Irish shit like that, but you could fucking pass.
Right.
If your fucking name is Luigi and you are olive skinned and shit, people are going to go, you dirty fucking guinea. You weren't going to pass for shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were going to be, you're fucking Italian. Look at you. You're okay. You're walking a fucking donkey. There's a goddamn monkey running around. You're wearing one of those fucking hats. You're a fucking guinea. I see it in your face. So, yeah, but they would come in, and then whenever they would move out, that's when, like, they'd be followed. So that happened. That happened in every city, every major city there is. That's how it used to be. Yeah, that's why Little Italy is always in the middle of shit that has nothing to do with no Italian people, because that's where the Italian neighborhood was, and then it's shrunk down to one street with like 3 bakeries and a fucking Italian restaurant and a store that sells like flags and and the Italian go fuck your mother T-shirts.
The Italian restaurant isn't even that good anymore.
No. It's not. It's owned by Koreans now, so it's not going to be
the original recipes. It's lost in translation.
It's very different. So it's interesting. Now, he got his name Kelly finally. He was in school in L.A. and a school teacher was pronouncing his name, and his name is Michele, is his middle name, and he pronounced it Michele, was how the school teacher pronounced it.
So that's how he got
Michele,
got it.
and people just started calling him Kelly because it sounded easier than Covino.
Right.
There's no other kids named Covino running around probably. So he ended up just taking it and saying, fuck it, my name's Kelly, I guess.
So much easier.
It's easier, and he felt probably a little less, crazy with it. Trust me, those names, I dodged a bullet, man. I dodged a bullet. My parents told me they actually, I know my father listens too, and this fucking happened. You've told me about it. They actually, I don't know how briefly, I don't think this was like, the pen wasn't hovering over the birth certificate or anything, but
super close to landing on Dago.
it was almost Dago Wapkini
Faster
Petrogalli Luigio. It was almost my name. That was Petrogalli. It was almost enough. My name, they actually for a brief moment considered, well, both of their grandfather's names, and which would have been Gaetano Biagio Petrogallo. Which no, just fuck no. God, no.
Gaetano
Biagio Petrogallo. Can you imagine that?
I wish.
For the love of Christ. Thank you, parents, for coming to your senses and not fucking naming me Gaetano Biagio Petrogallo. And
3 names ending in O.
I have to become a plumber and save the princess. I have no choice at that point, right? There's no choice in the matter. I have to put on overalls and say, where is she?
Run around with a plunger and just smack people till
where
you
is
find
she?
her.
That's it. Where is she? Where's the fucking dragon? As I beat people with a plunger.
Unreal.
What are you talking about?
Where's the turtle dragon thing with the spikes and shit?
Fine. Give me the all-you-can-eat Covino. Can't take it anymore.
You can put any form of meat in front of that word.
Oh yeah.
Try the chicken Covino.
It's a lobster Covino. It's a in a light.
I can see it.
You can see it in a light.
It's all got.
It's a pink sauce.
Yeah.
The lobster Covino's a pink sauce. So it's like gnocchi.
It's got a linguine.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What are we talking about here?
Al dente.
It's
not well done.
What are we going to do here? Are we going to be mushy? Are we going to pile of mush now? Just a pile of fucking mush with pink sauce on it. I don't think so.
Put clams in it if you want.
I figure, yeah, you could put clams on it. I mean, it's optional, but I like a Fra Diavolo Covino. That's what I like. I say, spice it up for me. Let me get the Fra Diav. Fra Diav, my Covino, please. Every fucking time.
I guarantee you there's an Italian restaurant with that as a dish.
Somewhere in this country.
Absolutely.
There is a Fra Diavolo stuffed Covino that you can order. If there is,
it means nothing.
Somebody take a picture and send it to us.
Some asshole in Nebraska will order it.
Yeah, at Crime and Sports and all of that Small Time Murder on Instagram. Send it to us because that's amazing.
You got to try the Covino.
You got to try the Covino, the house specialty. It's the house specialty. So
ridiculous.
So Kelly learned how to drive while working for his family's business. He would drive the fruit truck back and forth over the San Gabriel Mountains from Fresno to get the fruit and back to the grocery store. So he would drive. We're talking
Fresno to L.A.,
and we're talking
before fucking freeways.
We're talking 1920. We're
Jesus.
talking before the roads were good, before cars had good suspension.
Yeah.
This is a fucking fruit truck. This isn't a Cadillac.
Right.
You know what I mean? This isn't Al Capone's
flatbed.
This is a goddamn wow. You're feeling every bump hard. Like this is and he would drive like a maniac.
Really?
And everybody like in town was terrified of that fucking crazy kid in the goddamn fruit truck. He drove like a fucking lunatic, and this guy has no fear whatsoever.
Really?
Whatever that fear thing is that people have where your adrenaline goes on, he's just like, it's fine. And he just goes faster.
As long as he's behind the wheel, he's okay.
Totally fine. Yeah. Or anything. He's just a crazy son of a bitch.
He's okay with it as long as he's the one controlling.
Yeah, he's like when they talk to the Iceman, the murderer, as we've all know who the Iceman. Right. If you don't know who the Iceman is, go look up the Iceman.
Kuklinski's one of the most
Richard Kuklinski,
fascinating men
and look
on
up the interviews with him and everything. They're all on YouTube. You can watch them. It's insane. But they talk about him, like they tell him that like at the end when he talks to Park Dietz, he actually says, "What's wrong with me? What do you think about me now that you've talked to me and all that?
What do you get out of
What
this?
do you get?" And Park Dietz says, "Well, I think you." Imagine if he was just honest. Imagine if he was just like, "Oh, you're a fucking maniac. Are you kidding me? Have you listened to yourself for the last?"
The word sociopath.
Holy hell! You are probably the most fucked up person I've ever talked to. And I'm a doctor. I have gray hair. I've been doing this a long time. Like, they call me in when people are super fucked up. Right. You're the worst, sir. So is that good, or do you want like specifics?
Do you remember 8 hours ago when you told me you'd tie two cats' tails together?
Yeah,
that right there, you should know. You're fucked up, sir.
With the means, you could be Hitler.
Right.
You could do it.
You just didn't have an army of people to do what you wanted.
Yeah, you just didn't have a war to make you a thing and propel you. You didn't have all that stuff. Otherwise,
so you
could have been Hitler.
You tied two cats' tails together, and then it got worse.
Yeah.
How does it get worse from there?
Oh, man.
You figured it out.
But you did. Over and over again. I mean, it's been hours. How many days have I been here?
Right.
I'm at the hotel.
I keep coming back.
I've eaten everything from room service that there is.
It's crazier and crazier. That was the first visit.
But Park Dietz tells him, look, you have this thing of fearlessness, where he said you have a thing that certain people have where they just don't get scared. Rather than their body getting tense and whatever, they get calmer. It's just a weird thing. That's a great job for like fighter pilots. Yeah. Or a great trait to have for, like he said, you could have been a fighter pilot. You could have been, fucking crazy things. The guys that jump out of planes to fight fires and shit like that. That's just,
hero work.
Yeah, crazy shit that people go, whoa, how the fuck do you do that? They're just like, you just jump out of the fucking plane.
Right.
It's cool. Yeah, you feel like it feels great. They don't even think about, I could die. Right. There's a certain narcissism to that too, which fighter pilots, again, they weed out the people they used to back in the day when they needed like test pilots. Sure. You have to weed out the people who are rational because they're not going to do crazy shit that you ask of them.
Courage under fire.
Yeah, you have to have a guy who's like, I'll fly right through that. They're never going to hit me. I know there's missiles, but they're not going to hit me. I'm me. What are you talking about? That's the guy you send in there.
Misses it all.
Yeah, that's the guy you send in there because he's the only one who'll fly into a missile. Right. Everyone else will turn around when they see a fucking missile. So that's kind of what he has, this Covino guy. Okay. And it comes out in his everyday life. On the racetrack, I mean, that's great. It's dangerous, but it's terrific, but not really that great in everyday life when you're just trying to go about your business. Everybody said he's a very rough kid. He fights a lot. He's always scrapping in the streets and driving his fruit truck like a lunatic. And he's kind of just like the terror of the neighborhood. Yeah. And he's like a short little chubby motherfucker too, but he's crazy. And we'll talk about him later on here. So he's also known, he has another nickname when he's a kid. He's known as Kelly the Shiv Petillo. The Shiv.
Does he know what that is?
Yeah, everyone does. That's why he's known as it. That means he carries a fucking knife around.
Carries one
and he's
with
a tough motherfucker.
Well, yeah, because he's got a fruit truck.
Yeah.
He's got to cut shit open.
You got to have a fruit knife. Like my grandmother. Right. She carried that. The guy, knife. The man she threatened to cut his balls off. We said, why did you have a knife? And she said, for my apples. Why else? Okay. But this isn't for apples. This is he's Kelly the Shiv Petillo. He's got a tough 1920 street name, which is awesome to me. That's really cool. Everybody thought he was just nothing. He was going to be in prison, and he was that kid. Like, no one go near that crazy Petillo kid here. But he started racing, and that was the difference. Yeah. That's what saved him, was racing. Because without racing, he would have been in prison earlier than he ends up in later on here. 1924, he gets married. 1924. Think about that.
No.
To a woman named Valentina.
Yep.
Valentina. Luigi must have loved that. Oh, it's a Valentina. Oh, my daughter-in-law. It's a Luigi and a Valentina. It's very nice. He's very, very happy.
Unbelievable.
No. 1927, he does this is the first time anyone ever did this in the crime and sports chronology. Yeah. He has a son. Yeah. And he names him Kelly Jr. Covino, whatever. He names him he names him Junior, though. Yeah. This is the first time it could have ever first criminal athlete that we've ever covered to ever name their kid Junior. That's a first right now. He set we haven't done it until episode 183, but he set the stage, damn it. It doesn't matter.
In 1927.
In the universe, it's laid out. He's the first crime and sports athlete to name their kid Junior. So he's the first to break this fucking rule. Okay. And oh boy, does he follow right down the path of that. Now, he starts racing. He wins a Bakersfield to LA endurance race. Okay, so in 1929, he wins that.
That's the 101, I think, is that freeway?
I guess. I don't think it was existed
405, then. I think, is what it is. But that's probably that route.
Then it was probably like a dirt road,
right?
Or like a 2-lane shit road that wasn't very good.
That's a hell ride.
Yeah, it's
ugly.
It's a bad ride. Yeah. And he began driving at Legion Ascot. I don't know what that is. In 1929, he always carried baby shoes in his car for luck. was like his shtick. It was like he had a pair of baby, like a bronzed baby shoes like people
his?
have. I don't know if they were his or his kids. Yeah. Nobody ever could tell. But
he's the first one to put those on the rear view.
I guess he could have if there was a rear view. Yeah. The cars back then. Okay, now to describe them here, 1929 and 1930 when he gets into racing. Really, to describe the cars to you are. They're open wheeled, and they just look like a tube with 4 wheels on it and a little windshield. And
it's got a little windshield.
And there's a man in it. Just sticking out the top.
Oh, boy.
Like an Indy car, except they don't have the thing that goes around them in the back.
The roll cage.
Just sticking up. There's no roll cage. And they're wearing, later on, he'll be in the Indianapolis 500, and they're all wearing, including him, because that's the picture of him, he's wearing a dress shirt, a tie, and a sweater while he races. Now they wear a jumpsuit with shit all he was dressed like a college math teacher. He had a dress shirt and a tie with a sweater on over it. That's how he wrote.
Today is flame retardant. He's wearing everything flammable.
Did I mention they didn't wear helmets even?
Oh my
Head
God.
sticking out. Back then they used to wear a silk stocking on their head sometimes, or like a little hat.
Jesus.
Not a helmet, a little hat. That's all. Hey, and it's a little hat.
Head and shoulders above the car.
You're going stroll. Head and shoulders above the car. Little hat on. Not only that, if that's not crazy enough, they didn't even drive alone. They had their fucking mechanic with them in the passenger seat. I swear to God.
Was that person dudes next to him?
Yeah.
Or behind him?
Right next to him. They're just sitting there like they're on it's the weirdest looking thing. Dude in a sweater and a tie. With a silk cap with a fucking sweater on.
Another guy watching some gauges.
And another guy sitting there next to him. Yeah, with goggles on and shit. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. They had like the Red Baron, like a leather cap and some goggles they'd wear. And they're sitting there next to him in like a white, like coverall mechanic suit, getting ready to jump out and fix an axle or something. It's the most and they're driving over 100 miles an hour like this.
That shit happened in the 20s?
Yeah,
over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, this guy set records.
Wow.
Our guy set records. He was the most balls out of anybody. He was
unreal.
Everybody said that he would go on turns. He would go deeper into the corners than anybody that existed.
He go as fast as he could
to take it to not slow down at all. That was his thing. AJ Foyt, who's a famous racer later on, he says that Petillo's one of his heroes because he saw where he would just go so deep. He said he's the craziest, ballsiest
take
driver.
This long line to go as fast as possible. Granted, he's covering more ground, but if you're going faster,
he didn't want to hit the brakes. He's that kind of guy. He could have been an Evil Knievel later on or something like that, who was also an asshole.
Yeah, he was.
We got to cover him one of these days.
Really? Was he a criminal?
Oh, he did a bunch of shit, Evil Knievel.
Oh, God, Jesus.
Yeah,
I knew he was a dick.
Yeah, we got to cover him. Yeah, we got to cover him. That'll be fun. So, in 1929, though, he's in California, Southern California, race car driver, open roof.
Yeah.
Red Baron outfit next to your mechanic. Super weird, man.
What a lifestyle.
He cracks the top 10 in points for the Pacific Southwest something. He was 10th in the points for the Pacific Southwest racing league of some kind. I don't know. So that's what he did here. He has, Jesus Christ, his races basically starts with big races in 1932. That's when he starts trying to get in the Indy 500. And the Indy 500 will be his obsession for the rest of his life. Even after he's supposed to be done racing, he's still trying to get in the Indy 500 and many lawsuits with the Indy 500. The Indy 500's like a woman that he got divorced from and they got remarried and they kept fighting and getting divorced and moving out and then they'd fight over custody.
Oh, Jesus.
That's him in the Indy 500 basically here. So he, in 1932 though, he drove a car that they called Poison Lil, I guess here, and he got a victory at Legion Ascot in a 30-lap race there, and it was a lot of other good racers. It was like an exhibition, but there was a lot of other good racers in it, and so he kind of became a well-known guy after that. All the other racers took note of him, sponsors, people with cars, shit like that.
In a pro-am tournament.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's exactly kind of what it is here. October 1932, he won 3 more races at the same track and then finished 8th in the Pacific Southwest points rankings here behind a bunch of other guys that nobody's ever heard of. Yeah. But that's the thing. This is one of our first guys that we've done that I know no one who's listening right now
every name
knows who the fuck this is. Maybe you saw it on a list of criminal athletes, and it's not even on lists of criminal athletes that much. So, I mean, you'd have to dig into it to really see what he was. But no one's like, I used to watch him as a kid. You'd have to be 100 years old. And that's another thing I'm going to bring up. A lot of this stuff is from newspaper accounts from the days. It's impossible to do attribution to these because it's to attribute credit to these people because 95% of these newspapers don't exist anymore, right. And 99% of the articles are all AP Wire articles anyway. Yeah. So you could literally credit to any newspaper in the country because they all have it. There's no authorized fucking
facts.
It's AP. Yeah. It's just one of those things. Yeah, it's an AP thing. It's not like an investigative report.
Sure.
And anyone who would have wrote those things are all long dead as well. So it doesn't matter.
So dead.
Yeah, anybody who wrote the original copy.
They were in their 60s, in the 20s.
That's what I mean. They're so dead. Yeah. They were like, I remember Lincoln. So whippersnapper Woodrow Wilson's really putting our country in a hell of a pickle. So it's not great. They weren't into World War I. So he became consistent, I hear, from 1933, and by 1933 started really finishing races and crashing less and spinning out and shit like that, or having less mechanical problems, because early in his career he was known to mess cars up because he drove them so hard. Yeah. Cars were different back then too, and they weren't. There was a certain way to finesse them.
Right. There wasn't as much give.
Yeah. So it was a very, very, very different deal here. He was always like that because he drives balls out. But it's one of those things where it's like if the equipment holds out, he's gonna get every drop you're gonna ever get out of it. So they didn't mind basically. He messed up his car at one point and pissed off the people who were sponsoring him. I guess he did some sort of. See, it's so hard to get an account of a race of 1933.
Frivolous damage of some sort.
He did something on the track that wasn't part of the race that was unnecessary and ended up damaging the car. So they were all pissed off at him anyway. So 1934, he gets a win at that Legion Ascot again. He had a Harvey Ward Krager powered car. Okay. These are all when you're going to hear all these names of like, we're not going to talk about race cars very much, just I'll give you like a name, and it's like a name that's like a car company now that was like the guy who started it was actually doing it back then. Right. Like it's crazy shit here. Like there was still, I think Henry Ford was still looking over Fords at this point.
He was certainly still alive.
It's wild. So he ends up in the Midwest trying to make his way over to Indy, and he was in April 1934. He has a race at Jungle Park. I don't know what the hell the significance of that is. Like I said, we'll go through the racing real goddamn quick. 32, in 1932 he runs the Indianapolis 500. He goes 189 laps, finishes 12th there. He was flagged eventually and I guess had to quit. I don't know what that means, what the rules were back then. 1933, he also is in the Indianapolis 500. He finishes 19th. He spun out and stalled, and that was the end of that. And then 1934, he finished 11th and did 200 laps there, which is the race, I think. And so he finished running, so that was good. So that was his first time finishing it in 1934 and finishes 11th there. So he does very well. That's good. And that's people are looking at him as kind of like an up-and-comer at that point, which I guess would make sense here. Jesus Christ, some of these names. 1935 it's a good year for him. We'll talk about 34 here real quick. In 1934, he broke two different records at the Indianapolis 500 doing the trials. Yeah. One day he had an average of 119.3 miles an hour. So fast. Which was a record. It was the best qualifying average it was a record by almost a whole mile an hour. Wow. Which was set the last year by a guy named Wild Bill Cummings. That's
if I have to guess who has the record, it's the guy with
Wild Bill Cummings. Yeah. It sounds like a crazy cowboy. And then Petillo drove the fourth lap at 122.1, which was a record for a rear drive car, which is not bad at all. There's an all-time record is 124, but that was for a front wheel drive car.
They had front wheel drive back then.
I
thought that was a new thing in like the fucking 80s.
I think back then, I mean, they were going all out. At this point, they were building cars from airplane parts and shit. Yeah. Like they were inventing race cars.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a companies that churn out race car parts. Like you made your own fucking cars. That's what it was. Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about Simply Safe.
SimplySafe.com, SIMPLI Safe.com.
That's right. If you've been thinking about your home security, there's no better time to get it than right now. Yeah. And starting this week, Simply Safe Home Security is giving our listeners, crime and sports listeners, exclusive deals for Black Friday. Simply Safe almost never has a deal like this, and this is true. Yeah. They've sponsored us for 3 years. I've never seen a good deal like this exact thing pop up. This is awesome. So if you're thinking about protecting your home, check it out today. This is really the thing to do. Simply Safe has everything you need to keep your home safe. Entry sensors, motion sensors, a smart lock that locks your door when you forget, video doorbells, plus 24/7 professional monitoring that will dispatch police 3.5 times faster. And Simply Safe is the home security system that I trust for my house. I know you trust it for your house. And it really is. We have used Simply Safe because, number one, you don't get some person coming over to your house telling you how expensive it's going to be and how they're going to rip up your drywall. Right. They don't do that. You can install it yourself. It's so easy. And honestly, the video verification technology, you can't beat that. No. None of that false alarm stuff where they kick it back to the end of the line while somebody's robbing your whole house. They see that you're being robbed with the video verification.
Priority.
They tell the police, oh no, it's a robbery, and the cops get there much faster. You got to do it. And this is already the best value in home security. That's the thing. And right now, you'll get the savings from this massive Black Friday sale. Just visit simplysafe.com/sportscrime. That's SIMPLI safe.com/sportscrime. This offer ends Cyber Monday. That's Monday, December 2nd. So go before then, simplysafe.com/sportscrime.
Now back to the show.
This is the Indy cars, and this is kind of the predecessor. I'm not sure exactly when NASCAR started, but this is like NASCAR is like the downstream of moonshining and that sort of shit, building fast cars to outrun cops at night through the fucking.
They all ran on moonshine.
Yeah, see Dukes of Hazzard basically. That's NASCAR drive. Right. It's a real car, a stock car, like you'd make.
Copperhead Road is Steve Earle's song, basically about moonshining and how you get a car that's fast.
And there are NASCAR drivers from like the 50s who had moonshining busts from the 30s and shit like that. So that's what we're talking about. Whereas this is different. This is like a bunch of crazy,
very rich people.
There's a lot of rich people that are like scientists with these cars that are trying to make, they're trying to make companies that build cars and engines, and
they would also take something that it's not a car that fucking exists. Like NASCAR, they would take cars that exist and then just retrofit them.
They're inventing cars.
They're creating something.
Yeah, they're making cars.
Nuts.
Yeah, his car here in 1934 is called the Red Lion Special.
Oh.
It's a 4-cylinder motor only, too.
No shit.
They jack it up and it goes fast and stick 2 guys in it.
It's like a goddamn motorcycle motor.
Imagine
tiny and fucking powerful.
Fast as shit.
Yeah.
Imagine being one of those guys that had the mechanic where you just have to trust this guy to not have your head taken off. Kelly, chill out. Jesus Christ. Come on. I know you like to go deep in the corners, but for fuck's sake, I'm here too, bro. Imagine me in the passenger seat.
You know how you don't care about yourself? I do.
I kind of care about myself. We actually have a lot of quotes from him a little bit later. That's hilarious. The guy who used to ride with this poor bastard. Gee, I'm sorry. Now, 1935, we'll talk about a little. We're going to jump around with the 34 and 35, but 35, he's trying to put a car together he needs a new car.
Yeah.
He's trying to put a car together. He takes his life savings and borrows more money from his family to build his own car for Indy for the 500. His father mortgages the family store and everything. That's how much they're trying to.
They believe in him.
They believe in him. Other relatives, I mean, it's like passing the hat. Like, he's racing. He's doing something. And these are immigrants.
Yeah.
This is their kid is doing something. If you're an immigrant back back then, your kid's doing something, everybody's pitching in on it because he's getting out of here and doing something. Holy shit, he's going to speak English without an accent someday. This is going to be great. So a family friend, Arigio Balboni, who I cannot make up, and just I automatically picture Steve Balboni, the ex-Yankee and Royal. Steve Balboni, have you ever seen Steve Balboni?
I'm sure I have.
He's a fat Italian guy with a mustache that's completely bald like Homer Simpson. He always looked like he was 50 years old. He just looks like somebody's father that you were like, we need an extra guy. You're pretty big. Get out there.
And he played baseball.
And he played professional baseball somehow. Terrible hitter. Well, he had
of course he was.
One good year for the Royals or something, and then the Yankees get him, and he was terrible, obviously. He'd hit like 215, but every once in a while he'd get a hold of one, and you'd just be like, holy shit.
Guy's got some talent.
Man, Pops, he fucking crushed that thing.
If he could do that every time, that'd be nice.
Unbelievable. So Balboni ran an aircraft salvage yard, and he allowed Kelly to come in and pick through the wreckage, basically, of all these airplanes and take whatever the fuck they needed.
Just rivet pieces together.
To build cars from airplane engines. So, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
First of all, think about the danger in just building this insane car and then being like, I'm going to drive it as fast as it goes. You know, my head's sticking out of the top of it. We'll see how it works. See ya.
Shit might lift off. We don't know yet.
Taking off. Yeah. That's crazy.
I'll find out.
It might fall apart.
Yeah.
You never know.
The
whole
fucking
thing
explode.
Who knows? So they did this. A guy built the body, and then Kelly made the rest of the car in his own shop. The front axle came from a wrecked Plymouth. The transmission came from a Studebaker. You just put this is what I mean. This is going to race the Indy 500.
It's a Frankenstein car.
Absolutely. So he needed an engine. It was about $3,500 for a new engine. So a guy provides him one on credit with the understanding that he would pay it back if he made any money at the in the race here. So and the guy was Offenhauser was the guy's name, and he looked at it as like it was a sponsor.
Yeah.
He looked at it as you'll tell everybody it's my car,
right?
And then that'll be good for me. And then if you win, you can pay me back, and everybody wins. Basically,
that's super good for me.
You get a loan, you get a car that you can't afford. I get my name out there, and I get my money back, and for loaning it to you. So he qualifies for the pole and ends up being disqualified for a fueling rule. And then on his second attempt at the pole, his engine blew. So he's having problems. So he got the engine repaired in a local repair shop. He went to a gas station and we're like, you got to fix my Indy car. They're like, all right.
What
do you got
there? Fuck is that car?
Studebaker axle? Okay, well, I don't know. Just rivet some shit in there, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
How am I supposed to match this?
Jesus Christ.
What's happening?
I mean, I know I'm drunk, but this car makes no sense to me because everyone was drunk back then, but it still makes no sense to me at all. So, this is silly here. So he goes to the Indianapolis 500 and, this is his kind of his big race here. He breaks, the 34 when he broke the records, trying to qualify and 35 he started in the last he only finished he's never finished in the top 10. He finished 11 was his best time. So he comes out crazy in this race, right? He gets going at the 100-mile mark. He was in fourth place, and then he passed some people, and he was in third at 125, and then in the lead at 175 miles.
Wow!
He stopped for gas while he was in second place. This is the only time we'll talk about a race in specifics for the rest of the show, so don't worry. It's going to be pretty much all crime from the rest of this on.
All right.
Literally, once this race is over, fucking buckle up. It's all over here. So he's in second place for the next 50 miles, and then somebody else regained the lead, and then he regains first place at 225 miles, holds it for the next 100 miles, had another stop at 350, drop back and forth, and then at 375 he gets out in front and never loses his lead.
Wow.
The last half hour of the race, I guess it looked like it was going to storm. The whole sky got super black and looked like it was going to open up. Finally, rain starts to fall, and they had to slow down to 75 miles an hour for about 30 miles an hour. They do the caution deal. Yep. This is, back when that was barely a thing, I'm sure. And then they sent people out for the last 25 miles were full speed, which is kind of exciting. It's basically a 25-mile race at that point, which is pretty fucking cool.
This is great.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, you're going to see. That's the thing about NASCAR or any of these races. They're boring as shit unless you turn them on with 5 laps to go.
Right.
Just don't worry about turn them on with 5 laps to go. And it's just a really bunch of really fast cars racing for 5 laps. That's exciting. And you turn it off.
As long as it's close, as long as somebody doesn't have like a 3-lap lead.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous. Right. Even then, pretend. Right. I mean, yeah, he'll be lapping this guy, but pretend the guy he's lapped twice and he's right next to him. Pretend they're racing. It's exciting looking. They're just fast cars racing with each other. That's exciting.
Your pretend is just as fascinating as the real story.
Yeah, otherwise it's boring. They're all just going the same speed, so it looks like they're not going the same speed. You need to send one like 93 Geoprism out there to go just like around the infield so you can see when they cut to the geocam like of a driver in there and you just hear and you're like, fuck, that's fast. You know if someone's really flying and you're like at a stoplight and somebody flies by at like 80 and you're like, Jesus Christ, imagine that. You're going 46 and the car's shaking in a Geoprism from 93 and then this thing flies by you. People at home be like, holy shit, this is the most exciting thing ever.
Chips of rubber flying around. That's what's fucking
Let
crazy.
Let me be in charge. I'll make this shit interesting. Me and Jimmy for NASCAR president.
Watching the rubber chips, because these tires get chewed the fuck up on the track.
They throw them into the crowd, kill spectators.
Yeah.
People cheer. Yay! Took his head clean off. I think that was a kid. Awesome. Yeah. This is a good race. I'm glad I got these tickets.
I used to go to drag races when I was a kid and sit by the starting line where they do the burnouts right before they go down the track because they got to get their tires warm. Yeah. And chunks of rubber rain down upon you. I remember vividly as a kid drinking a Sprite full of rubber.
Yeah, that's
disgusting.
That's disgusting. Hey, rubber Sprite.
So much fun.
Great. So, I guess the end of the race, it was a close race between him and the second place guy, and he pulled it out, and the crowd went crazy because it was so exciting. He gets out. The first one to greet him is his kid. Yeah. His son's there. His 7-8-year-old son 8-year-old jumps at him, and he's all excited, and everybody's there. They're taking pictures of him, and this Luigi's kid has done well. This grocer's son from Compton has fucking become the Indianapolis 500 winner, which is
insane.
You're the top racer at that point.
There aren't many of those people.
No, that means you're at that moment in 35. Yeah. That was it. You were the top racer, at least in the hemisphere. Yeah. Or, I don't know about Europe. I don't know how they were racing over there.
I don't know the Grand Prix happened.
I don't know if they were doing those street races and shit yet. But I mean, at least in the United States, this made you the best racer going. So it's a big goddamn deal. And it makes you very famous in racing circles, and it gives you a lot of money here, as we'll talk about. We'll talk about exactly how much money. It's funny now, but to think about the amount of money to win such a big thing. But here, there was a lot of people too. This was a record-setting crowd. Yeah. His time was 4 hours and 42 minutes and 22 seconds with an average speed of 106.24 miles an hour, which was a new record for the track as well. Okay. So it's the fastest anyone ever ran it. But back then, the cars were getting better every year. Sure. So you were kind of breaking last year's record all the time. $30,000 to be given to him, which nowadays that is nothing at all.
The winner of it today doesn't win that much, to be honest with you.
It's more than $30,000. Well, I'll tell you what it translates to. I did the inflation calculator here in a second, but he broke the old record by almost 2 miles an hour. Wow. For last year's record. That's obviously, great. Which he's got this crazy Frankenstein car.
Bananas, yeah.
Record crowd of 150,000 people were there. Not too shabby. His prize for winning the race was $20,000, and then he gets a bunch of other cash prizes offered up by the sponsors, and that makes up to be about $30,000 there. He was very happy, obviously. Right. He says that he was speechless when they talked to him. He hugged his mechanic, Jimmy Dunham, gave him a big hug. Yeah. People came in with old school movie cameras and shit. It was a real old-timey scene. Him in his sweater, his stoop. This was the first year they were required to wear helmets, by the way.
Really?
So it's just like a little motorcycle helmet. Yeah. So it's not like doesn't have
it's not a face mask. Shield, there's not a neck guard.
It's got a goggle sitting on top of there. It's ridiculous. He just said, quote, "I'm glad I won. I've been trying since 1932 to make the grade." And they said that his face was smeared with grease.
Yes.
And there was also stuff from the car on there as well. That filthy, filthy guinea was what they said. No, they didn't say that in the paper. That would have been the best. Oh, I would have fucking died.
Something about Dago.
This Dago bastard. Now, there's a guy named Clay Weatherly. He's a 25-year-old driver. He's from Wisconsin, and he lived in Chicago recently. He's been driving for 3 years on dirt tracks. This was his first Indianapolis race, and his car, while going very fast, 100 miles an hour, hit the upper wall on the turn leading into the stretch and crashed into the inner retaining wall, throwing him out of the car and into the infield.
Oh, my God.
While going 100 miles an hour.
Ejected.
He got ejected.
Holy shit.
That does not happen now.
No.
You don't see drivers thrown into the infield anymore. That's very...
That fuselage is built to fucking cocoon them.
Yeah, and make a little...
Yeah, and encapsulate.
Yeah, that doesn't break and isn't fireproof. It's this little, your own little safety box.
Sometimes it fails.
Oh, it'll fail once in a while, but this was just, there he goes. Like he had a fucking ejector seat in it. Like he was the Red Baron.
It's a projectile. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's not as funny at this point here. Now, Al Gordon, his mechanic, who was also in the car, his mechanic here, escaped here. And Weatherly, though, is killed.
Yeah, of course.
When the car crashed there. And because another driver who ended up crashing into him, he was fine, but, and his mechanic was okay, but this Weatherly is killed, basically, which is terrible. Gordon's car shot to the top of the track and hung there, it said. Gordon's life was saved due to his head helmet, which drivers are finally required to wear here. The helmet's made of a combination of light metals and wood. What the fuck kind of helmet is that? The newspaper, wait till you hear people's quotes later. It's all like, well, I'll tell you what, fella, it's fucking amazing. It's awesome. It's made of metals and wood. Wood?
Why is there plural metals?
What the different metals and wood on a helmet? Where the fuck have you ever seen wood on a helmet?
I imagine the wood is the liner of the inside.
Why?
I don't know.
Who wears wood on their head?
I don't know. Maybe the metal got hot.
In case it's on fire, the wood will... I mean, it'll catch on fire too, but it'll calm it down a little bit. It won't be so hot. So when we grab the helmet off his head, it'll be less hot. And the helmet was broken into bits.
I'm sure it was.
Instead of his skull. So that's good, I guess. I guess this is a turn where accidents occurred all the time because it's covered in motor oil, causing it to become slippery there. So the mechanic sustained a cut hand, but otherwise escaped injury. But Weatherly was killed at 25 years old. And they were like, yep, happens. That's it.
Casualty of this job.
Yeah, the constant death was also a motivating factor in establishing a formal rookie driver's test beginning in 1936. They just let people with cars drive in the race.
They didn't know if they could control them.
If you could get yourself an Indy car, you could qualify on the polls that you just show up and race.
Wow.
You don't have to have any qualifications. There was no test
to qualify. You do that shit with nobody on the track.
That's what I mean. And before this year, you didn't even have to have a fucking helmet. You just showed up with a car and a tie and a sweater on, and they were like, "Get on in there, buddy.
Looks like
go
a
ahead.
racer to me.
Looks like he's ready to go to me." Fucking crazy. So, I mean, that sucks, though. All these people dying like this, just racing unnecessarily. I mean, it's a bummer. It really is. But
looking for bragging rights, essentially.
That's what it was, because they're adrenaline junkies back then. They had nothing else to do.
Right.
I mean, it's a bummer. But you know what I'm not bummed about, Jimmy?
What's that?
The sales. Oh, the sales. Oh, we're back with the sales. This is in the Boston Globe in May of 1935.
Oh, boy.
So, if you happen to be in Boston in May of 1935.
I just got out.
It's amazing, too. If you stumble upon a time machine, tell you what, I was going to say you'll have this episode, listen to it, but your Wi-Fi, your phone probably won't work. So, jot this down. So that way, when you show up, people will be like, oh my God, you're from the future. And you'll be like, I know, I have to get to this store because there's a sale going on. They'll be like, how the fuck do you know that? They'll think
It starts tomorrow.
It's amazing. This is at the A&P, which it's a grocery store. I don't know.
East Coast chain.
It's an East Coast, grocery store there. I don't remember what it stands for.
I don't know.
Assholes and pussy twits. I have no idea. But if you're going to the A&P, it's a grocery store. Oh, they say they have, quote, more meat values here. We have chickens, fancy milk fed is what it says. The food back then is way different, by the way. This is 1935.
We have chickens.
Chickens is what it says in the ad here. Chickens, as I'm showing you. Fancy milk fed to broil or fry. You can't bake it, though. You're not allowed to do that. It's not unhealthy enough.
Where have you ever seen it with a plural? Anytime
Chickens.
recent, it's always just chicken.
Chickens. They have chickens, 2.5 pound average, 27 cents a pound
That's a whole chicken.
for chicken. So you could get a whole chicken for like 80 cents, which is pretty good.
What are you having for dinner? Chickens?
Chickens, lots of them. Lamb forays. I don't know. F-O-R-E-S. I don't know. It's old-timey food.
Maybe it's fours?
Fours. Boned and rolled if desired.
Good Lord.
I don't know. 15 cents a pound, which seems like a great deal.
What do you roll lamb for?
I guess to like a leg of lamb, so you could bake it, roll it, and like make like a brajol.
Boned or deboned? What
Boned
is
and rolled. Boned means that they've taken the bones out.
Okay.
So it's like a
We've boned it.
It's probably a leg of lamb, I'm thinking here.
Okay.
Fancy brisket.
Oh.
Not just brisket.
Right.
Fancy brisket.
This shit's fancy as shit.
Mildly cured corned beef. This is 33 cents a pound.
Okay.
For all you dirty Irishmen out there. Yeah,
cured.
if you want that. Lean ends.
Ew.
I don't know. Mildly cured, it says. 29 cents a pound. Veal legs.
They have all the meat.
Fresh fancy white milk fed, 23 cents a pound. And finally, boiled ham is on sale, everybody.
The English are going to love it.
Sliced and mild, 45 cents a pound. And for your sandwiches, mayonnaise is on sale, 41 cents a quart. So... I don't know.
That is
it's a lot.
It makes it grosser by that
by
measurement.
The quart? Yeah. At least it wasn't by the barrel, like oil.
By the scoop.
An 8-ounce jar is 12 cents. So that's good.
Seems like a deal.
And you can also get some Chatka crab meat, 2 tins for 43 cents.
Tin of crab meat.
Tin of crab. And also, what is this here? Finest, F-I-N-A-S-T, I don't know if it's a brand, oven-baked beans, 2 large tins for 27 cents.
Okay.
Not too bad. So what was it like to race back then?
I'd love to know.
Let's talk about this. All right. They're talking to that mechanic that he rode with, the Dunham guy. The cars... You know how it's called the Brickyard, the Indy 500?
Right.
That's because the fucking track was brick
Was
back
it
then.
really?
Yeah, that's why it was called the Brickyard. They were original bricks.
Wow.
Back then. So you know how when we were in Philly, we had to drive down that one street
That's
to go
horrible.
to my hotel, and we're like, Jesus fucking Christ,
Yeah.
we're going 8 miles an hour.
Right.
Imagine going 115 miles an hour with oil slicks on that.
In 1930s technology
1930 suspension. Yeah, we had a brand new rental car that had good suspension.
Yeah.
It was a Jeep, but it was
Right.
made to go off-roading,
Right.
and it was terrible. I was, Jesus Christ, my head was bouncing off the
fuck
ceiling.
is this?
It was a disaster.
Are we even supposed to be on this road?
Imagine if our heads were just sticking out of the top, going 110 miles an hour with a tie on.
A wooden and maybe some metals.
It's possible it breaks into pieces. So that's why it was called the Brickyard. So Dunham here says, quote, "It was a pretty rough ride." He says he once lost 10 pounds during a race because of the vibrations.
It vibrates.
Now, that didn't make you lose weight, but I think back then, remember they used to have those machines that you see like that vibrate your stomach, and that was supposed to make you lose weight.
Belt.
Yeah, probably he lost. It was probably the heat of being in Indianapolis in late May, driving around a hot track in a hot car. That engine probably spit off a lot of heat.
And
I assume he sweat 10 pounds
and
of
your tense
fluids
muscles.
out. Yeah, and 10 pounds of fluids is probably everybody loses 10 pounds in these races now. He said, quote, "I only had 2 pads on my seat, and I had to hold myself up in the seat until we reached 100 miles an hour, and then it began to smooth out."
Wow.
So he had to hover above it like he was shitting in an airport toilet until it got comfortable enough to sit down. Otherwise, his tailbone
What
would
kind
be
of pad was that?
in the back of his throat. Probably a terrible, like
a planting pad that you kneel on?
I'm thinking one of those shitty, like, indoor-outdoor chair pads that you just throw on there.
Right.
And one, like old ladies put on, like, flowery designs.
That fold in half.
Yeah. He said, along with helping look out for traffic and keeping an eye on tires, he said that his tasks also included massaging the arms of the driver, Kelly Petillo. Because imagine that vibration. Yeah. Mow a lawn for 10 minutes. Your arms are like, oh, Jesus Christ. Imagine the vibrations of holding that wheel steady to not crash when you're going
120 miles an hour.
It's crazy. Wow. He says, quote, "Because in those days, that was pretty rough on those bricks from all those vibrations," which I would think so. Right. Also, they didn't have a lot of safety equipment. They said, "How much protection did racers have in 1935? And he said, quote, "Well, none. That was the first year it was mandatory to wear crash helmets. Prior to that, they wore silk stocking caps." Like they're going to sleep. Like they're Ebenezer Scrooge laying down to fucking sleep on Christmas Eve.
About to take a nap.
Yeah, that's nice. Put my stocking cap on and drive 100 miles an hour around on bricks in a circle like a maniac, hold the life of my mechanic in my hands at the same time. That was also the first year they installed caution lights around the track to advise the drivers of cautions and shit. Otherwise, it was just flags. And also, it marked the first time racers tried out radio communication between the drivers and the pit crews. Oh. So this was spotty even back then. Yeah. Before that, it was just, you're just out there. They don't know what's going on, how it is, or you got your mechanic with you. You know, we're hoping nobody dies of dysentery and has to be buried along the way. That's all there is to it.
Hopefully you're on the same channel as your pit crew.
That's, who knows? Otherwise, also, this was for safety. The driver and mechanic wore cardboard cutouts strapped around their torsos with loads of heavy gauze intended to guard against internal injuries. They basically wore, like on The Wire, when Omar went to jail, and they put phone books and atlases around him when they knew everyone was going to stab him. They put his body, like, from under his arms to his waist. Right. They just coated him in open phone books and shit in multiple layers that you can't stab through, and then, like, put a bunch of, like, gauze around
Makes sense.
That's what they did then. So
for a car crash.
Imagine you have to drive 500 miles with a fucking cardboard around your torso strapped to you with gauze. You can't move in that while you're vibrating it on. This is crazy. This is insane.
Were they out of bubble wrap? What the fuck are they doing?
He said, quote, that was all because of the vibrations to keep the insides from jolting too much, and also for other things. He said, quote, our cars had a very high center of gravity and couldn't take the turns as fast as cars do today. He would... Cars
would lift it up.
Yeah, they'd smack into the wall because they didn't take the turns as well. He said that cars, they travel 110 miles an hour. Now they travel so much faster than what they were doing there. He said that they, when he was a kid, the mechanic said he fooled around with stock cars and then ended up learning about cars that were being built for the Indies and for the Indy race and shit like that. And Dunham met Petillo and they got along. They were both insane, and they were only together for a year though as a team. He said, quote, all drivers and mechanics dream of getting to go to Indianapolis, let alone to participate. I was very fortunate. I go one time and I win the race. So that wasn't too bad. They started in the 22nd position too and won the race, which is pretty goddamn good. Dunham said, quote, we broke every record that year, and Jesus Christ, 4 people died in that year's race. Wow. Weatherly was the story I could get the most details on, but 4 people died in the race.
Casualties.
4 people died in this fucking race. Wow. And they were like, there was a long article, this guy won, isn't this great? This was the race. And at the end, they were like, 4 people died also. 4 drivers died in the race. Like, that wasn't a big deal. That was expected. There's going to be 35, at least 4 or 5 of them are going to die. But I mean, hopefully we'll keep it to that. How crazy is that?
That is insane.
Those odds are not great.
Just accepting that as a fact.
4 and 36 is not good odds you're going to die doing this.
Lot.
If someone said, hey, every time you do this, 4 and 36, you'd be like, fuck that.
1 and 9?
Yeah.
That's better than 1 and 10.
Yeah, that's more than 10%.
That's a lot.
A chance you're going to die.
That's a whole lot.
Seems insane. I don't know. That just seems insane. So, Jesus Christ, man. So June 10th, 1935, this is after the race, he has to miss a race after he gets into an accident in a 10-mile exhibition race and breaks his car. So he's fucking around in a race and tries to do some stupid shit and show off.
In a race that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Breaks his car. Has to miss a money race, unfortunately, here. So later in 1935, he wins some races here. October 13th, he wins a 100-mile race in Pennsylvania. And by the end of 35, he was the AAA National Driving Champion, which was the governing body there back then. He also, that year, a bunch of drivers tried to organize into the National Championship Drivers of America. We've seen this multiple times in multiple sports where top participants will try to break off and do their own league that's more of like a player-centric league. Okay. They tried to do that. The idea here was that the drivers would promote races to get bigger shares of the gate. They cut the promoters out, basically.
That's smart. It is. You bring your audience and you get paid.
It's comics putting on their own shows, basically, but successful. Yeah. Or they're trying to be successful here. And a bunch of guys did it. A bunch of guys you'll never hear of, all these people. They wanted Kelly Petillo, and he wouldn't sign up. He said that because if he signed up there, he'd have to forego as the Indy 500 champion, he gets a bunch of appearance money for the AAA to make appearances all over the place.
All that shit out.
And he wouldn't get any of that for the rest of the year. So he said, I got a bunch of guaranteed money coming to me. You guys have a good time with your gamble. And he was in demand and he wouldn't do it. And he liked being the Indy 500 winner. And finally, after 2 races, that organization shut down and dissolved.
So he made the right move.
He made the right, for the last time in his life, he made the right move. 1935, he made $40,000 total.
For the whole year.
For the whole year, which translates in 2019 money to $749,661.31.
Not bad.
Not a bad year for his first kind of, that's his kind of, his coming out year. So that's not too shabby there. Grace.
Oh boy.
That's Grace.
Oh no.
From now on, it is nothing but in fucking sanity. Buckle up.
Depression.
Yeah. This is the Depression era. That's the other thing. To make $40,000 in 1935,
right?
You were the king of the world.
Sure.
I mean, that's a lot. Not the king of the world, but that's a lot of money in 1935, man.
Run for president.
People did. It was the goddamn Depression still. I mean, this is pre-World War II.
Sure.
35. Hitler's still considered a decent cat.
Right.
That's how long ago this was. Literally, they were like, well, I mean, Germany's turning around. Like, he didn't come up with anything crazy yet.
Not yet.
Didn't try to take over anything else. People were just like, yeah, he's all right. He's like Time magazine is on the cover and shit. I mean,
oh boy,
that's how long ago this is. They didn't wear fucking helmets 2 years before this. So after that, he's going to be in the Indy 500 a bunch more times, but he's never going to finish above 18th. Going to finish 20th, 22nd, 18th, 21st, 27th. Never really. A lot of times his car breaks in the race, which happens a lot back then. 1936, he says he was all set and ready to live on to retire and live on his winnings.
What?
He's going to retire and live on essentially $750,000.
Everything was so cheap.
Oh, absolutely. You could buy a house for $4,000 back then. So, I mean, I understand that.
Buy a car for $800.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah, you really could.
Yeah.
But he's an idiot. He's not going to make that money last. He's a carousing nightlife. He's going to open an LA nightclub in the late 30s and early 40s, which if you've ever seen like LA Confidential or any of that shit, it's still the Wild West out there. It's corrupt as fuck.
Sure.
I mean, they'd still kill people and take them out to the desert like it was Vegas in the 60s back then. It was crazy shit.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer.
I can really show you how to make some money.
And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From WWII, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the WWII app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining WWII Plus in the WWII app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on WWII Plus. Join WWII Plus in the WWII app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
He named another guy. His car moved on to a guy named Doc McKenzie, and he stayed in the pits, though, to keep an eye over everything, to kind of oversee. But in 1936, you could still do this. In 1936 at Indy, in the last stages of the race, his guy was running 7th. Petillo, when the guy came into the fucking pit, he said, "Get the fuck out, I'm driving." He kicked his driver out of his car and jumped in and ended up finishing in third place. It wasn't in Indy, it was a different race. It ended up finishing in third place,
Not
bad. Yeah, but he kicked it from set.
He's Al Davis.
He couldn't retire.
Right.
Yeah, Al Davis, if he put a helmet on and said, "Ken Stabler, get out of there, I'm coming in to play quarterback," that would have been crazy.
I got this now.
If Steinbrenner was like, let's go, Jeter, take a fucking seat, I'm picking a bat up, you'd be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You can't do what? You're in a suit. That was fine back then, though.
Right.
A bunch of there's a lot of crazy ass races back then, just a crazy interesting things to talk about. A couple of weird ones. In 1936, the first black driver, Rajo Jack, R-A-J-O Jack, drove a Ford stock car to victory in a 200-mile national championship at Minesfield Speedway. He won by 2 full laps. Wow. This guy kicked fucking ass, right? And this was everything was racially segregated back then. He had to say he was Portuguese,
what?
This guy. So, yeah, he just said he was Portuguese and, quote unquote,
and
passed.
They were okay with it.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's what they used to do back then. In baseball, in the minors, they used to say a guy was Cuban. If he was light, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's Cuban or he's Dominican," and they'd be like, "Oh, all right, that was fine." And they just tell him to shut the fuck up, and they teach him like 3 sentences.
Talk.
They teach him like 3 sentences of Spanish, and that's what they used to do back then. I'm not shit. You're not. That was a thing.
Embarrassing.
It's fucking embarrassing. It's ridiculous, and they all knew it. Yeah. That was the thing. Everybody fucking knew they were all lying to each other, but it was like, as long as we all pretend there's not a black guy playing, then there ain't a black guy playing.
God damn it.
Ridiculous.
And a horrible name like Rajo.
His real name is Dewey Gatson, which sounds less Portuguese, let's just say.
And
right?
They called him Rajo.
Rajo, less Portuguese. I guess maybe if Rajo's maybe a Portuguese name.
Maybe.
That's all. I don't know many Portuguese names here. But he was known as a really badass dudes. They said his wife had to be with him every time he won, though, because when the trophy girl came to kiss the winner, that didn't fly back then. So they'd have to give the trophy to his wife, and his wife would give it to him and kiss him, because otherwise,
don't have one of those pretty white girls kissing that.
They said, one guy said, quote, "He was a great guy and everybody liked him, but it was just safer this way with all the racial tension and everything." Wow. So, yeah. Now, 1939, Kelly appears in a movie called Burn 'Em Up O'Connor, which sounds like a real blockbuster here. Yeah. Here's the description of it. Quote, "Racing car enthusiast Jerry O'Connor." Isn't that the guy from...
That's the guy that's married... Oh, that's
Stand By Me?
O'Connell.
There you go. And his dim-witted mechanic, Buddy Buttle, wow. B-U-T-T-L-E.
Jeez.
Wow. Get their chance to join the crew of a race car builder, Pinky Delano. What are
they doing?
What is happening? Jesus. Wait till you hear who wrote this, by the way. Not who, but what he is. Who just suffered a setback when one of his drivers was killed by failing to make a turn on the track. Then, one by one, his other drivers suffer the same fate until it's Jerry's turn to drive the big race. Buddy tries an experiment and determines these were no accidents, but it's too late to help Jerry, who has started the race. So he's got to save his friend who's going to die in this race, apparently. He's very, very scared. Now, this is directed by Edward Sedgwick. The writer's name is Malcolm Campbell, otherwise known as Sir Malcolm Campbell. They knighted this asshole.
What?
Someone who wrote that shit got knighted. He said Buddy Buttle, and the Queen fucking put the show... Fuck that shit.
Sword on either shoulder.
Don't you ask me to respect that shit when you gave it to this idiot. Starring Dennis O'Keefe, Cecilia Parker, and Nat Pendleton. I don't know.
I'm sure it's a great movie.
And Kelly plays a race car driver. Yeah. Shocking. So he also opens an L.A. nightclub at some point.
What's it called?
We don't know what it's called. He's known as particularly an abrasive and sleazy character, even in the nightclub scene.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's what he's known as. So 1941, he has a daughter. His wife but Valentina has a daughter named Darlene.
Yeah.
I don't know where they just pulled Darlene. I guess Becky was taken already.
Big fans of Roseanne.
Big Roseanne fans. Yeah. That year, he's also charged with assaulting a police officer.
Oh, what?
He beat the living shit out of a police officer.
Why?
Really fucked him up good. Broke his glasses.
Ooh.
A piece of glass went in his eye.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Really fucked him up good.
His nightclub or what?
Around his nightclub. Yeah. You would think he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Should be in jail for that.
Charges are dropped 2 days later.
Why?
Super weird.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out why. Okay. Because it's odd. Things keep happening. He acts however he wants.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't really get any consequences for it.
Why is that?
It's It's almost like the cops are like corrupt or something around here. We'll find out all about it, though. This is wild, man. I'm telling you. Now, April 12th, 1942, this fucking idiot, this is amazing here. Now, mind you, he's never been injured in an auto accident driving 100 miles an hour on bricks and, with his head sticking out and a stocking cap on and the whole deal here. He is shit-faced drunk. And he runs his car into a freight train.
Oh, my God.
A moving freight train.
Oh, Jesus.
He gets into an accident with a moving freight train while shit-faced.
That ought to kill you.
He had to skid, and he skidded into the moving train. Fucked him all up. He says, quote, "In all my years on the tracks, I never came across a cropper like this." I have no idea what that means. No clue. That's some 30 speak right there.
All my years on the track, I never saw a train.
Ever.
I would fucking hope not, you idiot.
And the cops must have showed up, and they go, "All right, you're so-and-so. What do you do for a living?" "I'm a professional."
Say again?
Pardon? I don't know if you saw that big thing flying by that goes, choo, choo, right fucking in front of you.
The only place they go is down railroad tracks.
Way bigger than your car.
All you got to do, don't be on the tracks.
He's like, my mechanic usually points that shit out. I don't know. I just don't look.
I don't have anybody in the passenger seat.
I drive straight. When someone points something out, I move. I don't know. What the fuck else am I supposed to do here? I'm a driver. I don't know what to do. He was taken to the hospital. Doctors said he suffered a brain concussion and facial lacerations.
So it was nasty. That was a solid smash.
He fucking ran into a train. Destroyed his car. This is a big steel car and everything else. Destroyed it. He's a goddamn mess, basically. September 1943. Here it comes. Oh, boy. Now it starts getting really downhill here. I don't know if the concussion caused it even more.
Oh, I can see it happening.
He's always been crazy, but now he's even crazier. Now, so he owns a nightclub, as we know here. He is... Wow, this is fucking amazing. He's at his nightclub. He is, first of all, he ends up being, later on, he ends up being charged with resisting an officer, battery, and speeding. Okay? He'll be found guilty of striking police officer N.C. Barkalow of the California Highway Patrol, who was going 45 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone. The cop was trying to give him a ticket, and you had to sign the ticket. Right. And the cop was trying to urge him to sign the ticket, and instead, Kelly decided to beat the shit out of him.
It's time to fight.
He decided to fight him on the road. So he fights him, breaking one of the policeman's teeth. Which is not great. You don't want to do
tough.
that. He's a psychopath.
Hard,
He'll run into the car at 100 miles an hour at a wall. He's a crazy person. He's like fucking if you put Lenny Dykstra in a car. You know what I mean? That's not an insult.
No.
That's Lenny Dykstra would have been a good race car driver probably if that's what he was into, because he would run into a wall head first. He
doesn't care.
He's making the play is what's important to him. And whatever happens afterwards, I made that play. And that's they have the same mindset.
Utter disregard for him.
I'm making the play. I want to be good. And, and I think that's a lot of it too is I'm sure he had some sort of inferiority thing. This guy, Kelly, growing up probably and shit like that. He's got a lot of shit to prove. And, so, they sentence him to probation. He ends up, he's out on $500 bail, and he's fighting cops and getting pulled over. People are fighting Hitler right now.
Right.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of our country, they're literally fighting Hitler. And this guy's punching patrolmen in the fucking mouth because they want him to sign a ticket. We're not, see what I'm saying here? So, July 1st, 1945. So he operates this bar. He's there. It's about midnight, and he wants to close down. Okay. Instead, there's two Marines there who are drinking. These are Marines on leave, from the war.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, these are dudes who have been fighting Hitler.
They've seen shit.
They've been literally, they've seen some shit. Basically, the police officers approach here because they heard some ruckus going on, some yelling outside. So they approached the entrance of it. They observed this. Two police officers watched this. Quote, two Marines standing in the middle of the floor. At one point, Petillo's yelling at him. At one point, Petillo grabs a bar stool and beats the shit out of one of the Marines with a bar stool, beats him to the ground. Right as the other guy's trying to get involved, police say that they hear a gunshot ring out, and Kelly is chasing the other Marine out, firing a rifle at him.
What the shit?
After he beat the shit out of the other one with a bar stool. This is because he told them 5 minutes and they said, we'll leave when we're ready. And he said, oh, I think you'll leave now. According to my friend, Mr. Barstool here.
Last call for alcohol. No, it's not. Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, it is. So about that time, both the Marines ran out of the place. So the police officers enter the cafe to, I guess, join this crazy fucking party. It's, I mean, Jesus Christ. And Officer Anderson is attacked by Petillo. They walk in, he just starts attacking them too.
Oh, I said we're close.
I said we're literally. He chases the Marines out. Cops walk in. He's like, I'll start hitting you, motherfuckers. No words exchanged. Just attacks the police who walk in the bar afterwards, which is. Just imagine the thought process there. You're just doing this. The cop, I'll hit that fucking cop. How dare he come into my bar? What is happening? So eventually they subdue him. So they interview some witnesses, the Marines. They place Petillo under arrest and they put him in jail here. They make out an arrest report and they give the case and all of this sort of shit. And this is all very important. And the name of the witnesses and all this. It's all police procedure. Investigation of the case is assigned to a detective because it's like there's a deadly weapon involved and shit. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, it's assigned to a detective there, and he reports at the police station, and he says that he discovers the arrest and the prosecution, and it's signed over. There's all a chain of command is all nice up till this point. This is important for a reason, okay? So basically, they take Petillo from his cell to an office used by the detectives to talk to him, and they ask Petillo what happened the night before, and he says that two Marines refused to leave his cafe at closing time, and that he didn't have a fight with the Marines, that when they refused to leave, he, quote, went in the back room and got a rifle and shot it in order to scare them out. That's his like, didn't do anything wrong.
That's all I did.
I just fired a deadly weapon in the direction of people to, quote, scare them. Okay.
In the city limits.
Yeah. So this is Detective Skaggs here. He tells Petillo that in the arrest report, it says that he also beat one of them over the head with a bar stool and fired the rifle, not like in the air. He fired it at him and he closed one eye and aimed it. Literally, he fucking took aim at this guy and just luckily he probably had a few drinks and missed, but I mean, he wasn't just shooting in his direction. He's like, I could see like his tongue sticking out like Michael Jordan, really trying to get a good shot in there.
I gotcha.
So he denies it. Petillo's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's ridiculous.
Doesn't sound like me.
Ridiculous. He then says, no, that's nothing I would do ever. I treasure my bar stools. So Petillo says that after the Marines ran out of the cafe, there was a knocking at the front door. And he said then his cousin readmitted the Marines by accident because he didn't know, and another man who Petillo didn't recognize. And then after that, he said he recognized Officer Anderson, who that he was fighting with was from the Vice Squad, I guess. So he was a plainclothes guy. That's why he didn't, that's why he started just attacking a stranger for no reason, as you do.
All right.
Yeah. So he said that at this point he surrendered his rifle, and he said he became excited and commenced, quote, to abuse one of the police officers. This was followed by a scuffle and his arrest. Because, you can't do that. So he says that now Petillo, this is fucking funny. He says basically that later on that night, Petillo says, quote, he was told by the detective, quote, this is a tough deal and it looks like the big house for you. That's very 30s.
Oh boy.
This is literally 1945. Right. He says, this is a tough deal and looks like it's going to be the big house for you. Literally, that's how he said, that's what he said. He said,
better shape up, it's going to be the Hooskow.
It's going to be up in the Hooskow. Tell you what, boy.
The last time you were in the pokey.
Listen here, fella. He says, quote, I could squash this if I could get the Marines, if I could get to the Marines, and of course it would take some money. Mm-hmm. That's what the detective told Petillo, he says. So Petillo says, they told him Petillo says the detective told him there's about 4 or 5 of them, that have a split on it. It would take about $500 to make all this go away. So Petillo's saying the detective offers up a solution, basically, a bribe. And Petillo said that, he was interested in that. And then the detective said, well, I don't know. I will have to see I'll have to, see the attorneys and tell them, you have to let them know what's going on and we'll see. And, so all of this ends up happening. And he ends up paying off this guy $500 to the detective, and the detective ends up getting arrested for this.
Oh shit!
Detective ends up being arrested and convicted of accepting bribes and all sorts of different charges, internal police charges and external charges, and ends up being sent to prison and everything.
Oh shit!
This Detective Skaggs from Petillo, giving him $500 to do this, to fix his shit. Now, this obviously isn't the first time, he's probably fixed something.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, he offered to fix him, basically. Now, Skaggs said that he was paying off Vice Squad officers because they all knew about it, so they all had to keep their mouths shut, that he had paid off. And he didn't know, basically, he had to pay. He was telling him, like, oh, I don't know, I need money for this guy, I need money for that guy. He was trying to get a couple more out of Petillo, and all this sort of shit. He was also trying to say, like, he was telling Petillo, like, I'd be ashamed if you couldn't get your license renewed for your place. And he's trying to kind of strong arm him. And, so Petillo's saying he would love to do this because he needs to get out of jail. He doesn't want this hanging over his head, but he said, he's going to have to sell his nightclub and that sort of thing to get the cash for this whole thing. So basically he said he told Petillo that he would have the lawyers see Petillo and that he'd have them reduced to simple assault by greasing the right party. And he informed Petillo that he wouldn't be in jail long and that he'd have arrangements to have him out of jail quicker than he thought he was going to be out of jail. So they end up going to trial for Skaggs here, and the Skaggs, the detective, he says that Petillo asked about the seriousness of the charge and said, quote, "That's bad, ain't it?" And then the detective said, quote, "He then asked me what I thought that we could do for him, whether there was some way he could get it reduced, and I said, I don't know, it isn't up to me to say. I'll have to take it up with the district attorney's office." And then he says, Petillo said, "Isn't there some way I can get to the other Vice Squad officer and give him a little extra money and square this whole thing away?" And at this point, the detective admitted, he said, "Well, I don't know who would have to be fixed on a thing like that." So he said even he admits to doing this whole thing. So it's basically, now Petillo says that he tried to charge him $1,000 and that the charge is for $500. So, yeah.
He walked him back.
He kind of walked him back a little bit. Yeah. So, also Skaggs said that, Petillo said, "Oh, that's been done before. There's a lawyer that could fix it up." And he said, basically he's telling the cop who he's going to need to pay off. He's like, "Look, I have a lawyer. We know how to do this.
I know a guy.
We do this all the fucking time." He said that he paid $500 to certain police officers at one point to get his dance permit back for his club, I guess to play loud music or whatever. He said following this, they had a couple more conversations about it, and the money ended up coming through. And this guy, this officer, this detective ended up basically trying to track down the Marines because it was his job to get the Marines to drop the charges.
Right.
So
they have
whether
to be on board.
Yeah, whether they were going to have to pay him off or whether they were going to have to talk to him or, whatever. Petillo at one point said to him, quote, "Look, Skaggs, there's something I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you fellows, but the other guy got sore." I'll repeat that. "Look, Skaggs, there's something I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask the other fellas, but the other guy got sore." He said, "When I was over in the country running the place, I never had any troubles like this, and I want to get lined up with the police." And the guy said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, if I can pay off the police so they won't come in my place, I'll get along swell." And the guy said, "How are you going to keep them out of your place?" And he said, "If I could get him to the right guy, give him $100 a month to keep out." And he told Skaggs, "If you can do this for me, I'll give you $100 a month now too. You could be my guy that'll, my fixer guy that's going to keep
my wheels wherever I need them.
Tell all the cops to stay the fuck away from my joint, and I'd leave that guy alone here.
You're my mechanic in the passenger seat. Watch the gauges."
That's the thing here. So none of this obviously is tape recorded. There's a whole bunch of interviews. Basically, it comes down to $500. This guy gets convicted of this whole thing. Yeah. So Petillo said, quote, "I don't care what you do, I'll fight it, and I don't want to have anything to do with this money that you want, this $500 or fixing it up with the Marines." And then the guy said, Petillo says that this guy insisted, "I'll do it for $500. I'll do it for $500. And Petillo basically says this guy talked him into it at that point. So he says, the detective said to him, "I'm going to see these Marines and I'll give you 24 hours, 9:00 tomorrow night, and then I want you to have the money ready." So he says that Petillo says that he's just sold his nightclub and he was going to get a $500 deposit around 8:00, and he said he would give it to him, give it to this cop. So basically this took down this police detective as he ends up going through all these trials and everything. In court documents, because I found the appeal document from 1947, which is fucking amazing. They talk about in the appeals how what a piece of shit Petillo is. It's fucking hilarious. This is so funny here. Let's find this exact thing, because it's goddamn awesome. He's convicted he appeals on grounds that Petillo's a piece of shit. That's his whole appeal. You can't trust him.
Right.
He's a piece of shit. How could you trust him? So this is what the court documents say. The record, wow. The record herein forbids denial of the fact that at trial the profligate, unmoral, and more or less dissolute character of the witness Petillo was established.
Wow.
That's legally.
Those are harsh words.
The state of California says that he's profligate, unmoral, and more or less dissolute character.
Ouch.
That's awesome. A course of personal conduct was shown, his part, that was not consistent with good morals. It was shown that he's been arrested on a charge of serving a minor with intoxicating liquor, a case which was settled out of court, or as one of the witnesses stated, the case was, quote, clammed up, which means it was paid off. It was testified that Petillo on one occasion struck a police officer in the eye, quote, when I had glasses on, and broke the glasses and a piece went into my eye. That's the police officer. He admitted assaulting another officer the night of July 1st when this whole thing happened. He admitted assaulting a traffic officer when a guy tried to give him a ticket one time. He also stated that he attacked a motorcycle officer who once pulled him over for speeding. He said that he had to pay $300 for a civil suit in that officer's trial and the trial against that officer. It was also shown that he had boasted having fixed his difficulties with the law and paid $500 to certain officials to get his dance hall permit. 7 witnesses testified that Petillo's reputation for truth, honesty, and integrity was terrible. They said it was established that Petillo possessed a deep-seated and abiding hatred for police officers. With references to his testimony, they said, quote, much of his testimony shows that he was unable to relate a conversation or fully relate events in chronological order or time. Basically, he's a huge piece of shit, is what they say. But they still deny the case, send this fucking guy back to prison. So Petillo's out on this whole thing. He's fine. Detective goes to prison.
Right.
So, July 1944, he is divorced. His wife divorces him, which took a lot back then.
Yeah.
It's the 40s, dude. It's 1944. Think about that.
But he's beating the shit out of cops. He does it at home, too. He's got to.
His wife cites mental and physical cruelty.
You got it.
Yeah, he beats his wife, calls her names, fucking drags her around.
He's a dick.
He's a dick.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's, he needs a trailer. Somewhere there's a trailer with a missing guy and a wife beater standing out front.
Give it time. As soon as that's all he can afford, that's where he'll be.
That's well, we'll find out here in a minute. So he gets divorced. His wife says that he was also, in addition to mental and physical cruelty, he associated with other women and stayed out all night. She says, quote, he said that he did not like being married, did not like married life at all. That's what he said. That's what she said he told him. She tells the court. He listened to her testimony, but did not oppose the suit. Custody of the 2 children were given to Mrs. Petillo.
Good.
He's like, I don't want those fucking kids. No. So, early 1945, a dancer at his nightclub here. He gets his nightclub back. And a dancer at his nightclub claims she resisted Petillo's advances and he beat her in the face severely.
Of course he did.
So he's arrested on assault charges here. So that's not terrific, obviously. November 1945. Jesus Christ, man. This is insane, too. Petillo and his business associate, one of the guys who was an investor in his bar, picked up a young girl named Marie Cooper and gave her a ride. They offered her a car ride, drove her to a deserted street, and attempted to rape her.
Of course they did. Jesus Lord.
Real nice. He was, I don't know what. Jesus Christ, man. You have crossed the fucking threshold now.
It's
Punching cops are one thing, but luring a girl into a car.
Firing at Marines indiscriminately.
That's crazy.
Questionable. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's awful.
It's something.
This is what the fuck,
This is a totally different thing. Yeah.
You wonder why your wife left?
Well, yeah. He's like, well, my wife left me. I'm free to rape and pillage. Yeah, let's pick up some young girls to rape
damn
now.
pirate
what the
now.
fuck is going on with this goddamn guy here? So yeah, he's arrested for this.
Yeah.
This charge, after about 2 months, that goes to trial.
Yeah.
And at trial, the victim accuser does not show up.
Oh no.
And will not return calls.
She's
and
horrified.
She's horrified, or he paid her off.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if these two. I mean, back then you could give somebody $1,000. It's a lot of fucking money.
Why don't you just don't show up?
And they might not show up for it. So you either pay them off, or this guy's a crazy bastard.
Right.
He might have scared the shit out of her.
Who knows?
Who knows? You know, that's the thing. You don't know, but I mean, what does he do at this point? He's fucked. I mean, he was a Indy 500 champion 10 years ago. He was the top of the world, top of his sport. Now he's just constantly arrested.
A scumbag.
He's bribing police officers after he beats up Marines and then punches police officers.
He's arrested for like the scummiest behavior on earth.
Nightclub shit, attempting to rape girls that are fucking insane. Also, the beating up a dancer that doesn't want his sexual advances.
Right.
What a scumbag. I mean, this guy's like Harvey Weinstein if he was a physical threat.
Right.
As far as like with his fists. Like he was like he'd punch a guy too.
And with
to take his dick out.
Zero ability to get you an Oscar.
He's not he can't greenlight shit.
No.
Other than like dancing in his club, maybe. That's about all to some like, with the pasties on. Not even nude back then. I'm sure it wasn't allowed. No, it was some like shitty burlesque show that no one wants to watch.
Nobody's going to discover you there.
No, not in this place. Not in a place where Marines are beaten with bar stools by the owners at 12:01. That seems a little harsh. So at this point, he has no idea what to do with himself. Yeah. He's kind of fucked here. Yeah. He's got all these charges. He's got a terrible reputation. He's got his wife's gone. His kids don't want anything to do with him. He's an asshole.
It's bad stuff.
Racing, they don't want anything to do with him either. It's pretty much over for him at this point. He's like 42 years old. He hasn't raced in a few years, and I don't assume they really are thriving and really chomping at the bit to get this criminal back into their rank. If only we could have him in there,
right? Then
it would be better.
Remember when he used to be here?
Oh, things were so much better when he was here, scaring the shit out of people and fucking slinging his Cavino around.
Right.
At least he brought the homemade Cavino every time he came to the track, which was very, very nice
thoughtful.
Here. Yeah, so it's all right though. So he's totally fucked. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He leaves his bar in the middle of the night. He's wandering the streets. Yeah. He's tired. He's just confused. He doesn't know what to do. He's lonely at this point too. Yeah. He's also lonely. He doesn't know what to do. And then he hears in the distance some dogs barking. He's like, what's that? And he turns around, and right on top of him, it sounded way farther away, but right on top of him, it's Bobby Colorado, animal trainer from Fredericksburg, Texas. And he says, how is it you come to arrive here? Nah, seriously, because I came here with the program. I don't know if you know, but back east, I know you're from Pittsburgh. You've had a couple of, are you just here on, all right, well, listen, guy.
I'll do for you.
Listen, guy. I mean, they sent me. We had to you have no idea what this. Vince McMahon's out of his fucking mind. He's in the goddamn van. It took Estevez, Dexter. Dexter doesn't look it, but he's pretty fucking tough when you put it right up to him. Dexter, Estevez, is the grandmother with the knife. All these people to keep him in the goddamn van because he said, this is my, I don't do a good fucking Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? He's like, this guy over here, he's pretty fucking good. And I want to get him to put a fucking overalls on or some shit. I don't know what he's talking about, but it's crazy. But they said me because it's, get your shit together. Look at me. I got a nice get a fucking dog. Get a couple of dogs, teach them a couple of tricks.
Two are real similar.
You rent them out, you know what I mean? I'm an animal trainer. Look at me, LA at the movies. What are you doing? You're beating up fucking nightclub dancers and Marines with this. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you? Get your fucking life together. Yeah. I'm not going to say it again.
Start over.
Next time I'll send Vince McMahon, all right? He's going to be a pain in your balls. Trust me. Let's do it. But and poof, in a cloud of dog shit and marinara sauce, he's gone. And we have to explain, and Cavino's very confused.
Yeah,
Kelly. Sure. We have to explain, by the way, one of our listeners, and this has happened a couple times, but one of our listeners who we've talked to a bunch and came to a few of our shows here in Houston, he stopped at Bobby Colorado's house, okay? Yeah. He's driving through. It's outside of Austin, Fredericksburg, Texas. And he said he's driving, and he saw the sign. He's like, oh, my God, is that? Holy
I gotta
shit.
meet him.
So he pulled in here, and it's like a big property with like a house and and there's like training grounds and things. And he said he goes up and there's somebody working there, and he said, is this Bobby Colorado's place? And they're like, yeah. Like, fans don't come gushing at the door often. And he goes, and our guy goes, I can just call him Mike. I'm not going to give away his whole name here in case he doesn't want it. But Mike says to him, can I meet him? And they go, well, it's a her, first of all. It's a she. It's a she. It's Bobby with an I. And I don't know if she's here, I guess. Right? So if this guy goes, and finally they come back with Bobby Colorado, the animal trainer.
There she is.
And he's like, look, okay.
I didn't expect you to look like this.
I have to get a picture with you. I don't. By the way, do you have like shirts I could buy? And she's like, no, they don't have merch.
You have merch for me to buy?
Merch at your house with the animal training?
Do you have any pasta sauce or something?
Yeah, something. And she said, my employees have like our shirts but I don't have like T-shirts that I sell. And she's like, she didn't understand it. And he's like, look, there's this podcast.
There's this thing that happens.
And like, you're like this Italian guy who's in the witness protection program, and you got a bunch of dogs, and you try to tell these criminal athletes to straighten out their lives. And when you explain it that way with no context, it makes very little sense.
Oh, I'm sure she's like, could you please leave?
Could you please? Can we get him the fuck out of here, please? She's like winking at people, like, get them the fuck. Because I mean, in the context of the show, it makes perfect sense.
It's
but
hilarious.
if you try to explain it to a stranger, why I want to take a picture with you, that does not go over well. He said that she was just very confused and just was very happy when he left. That's all there was to it. She wasn't like, oh, neat. She's like, what? What the hell are you? And she said somebody else came by a couple months ago and said a similar thing. He's not the first. Poor Bobby. We've confused an older lady who's very good at training animals. We've confused the living fuck out of this.
Two assholes drove by her place in the middle of the night. And I'm like, what the fuck did that just say?
For the next 3 hours, I'm like, oh, it's fucking Bobby Colorado. Hey, I'm in Fredericksburg, Texas now. And the next thing you know, here it is. So, yeah, those charges for the last crime was the attempted rape in the car.
Right.
There. Now, 1946, he's charged with speeding and check fraud. Okay. And it causes a huge public fight between a prosecutor and a judge.
What?
So far now he's gotten a police detective taken down, now a prosecutor and a judge. These, apparently they had fought in an election, and they hate each other.
Oh,
this prosecutor
I love it.
And this judge here. The latest incident between them, according to this paper, was a jailing of Kelly Petillo. Petillo was one of 3 motorists who was picked up by the state police on Road 67. Yeah. I don't even know what that Road 67.
That's the 67th one.
Apparently so.
Right.
It was a speeding charge. Kelly wasn't even driving at the time, but he was sent to jail anyway. And they said that they kept him there in the jail because they found a handful of summonses from California. And this was, so the judge said that Kelly and his companions were not guilty of the violations. And, it's so weird here. So anyway, the whole point was there was $1,000 check. Petillo, said that, Jesus Christ, this is hard to explain. Petillo was in the possession of a bank cashier's check for $1,000. Okay. This was supposed to have been brought to Indiana to purchase a car to bring back to California, but it turned out to be they were using it for other purposes. Sure. It became known that they had $1,000, and they became, as they put it in the paper, popular with several members of the bar.
Yeah.
That they were hanging out
Free
at.
booze.
Yeah, they're going to buy rounds here.
Yeah.
$1,000 was a lot. So he told one member of the of this people here that he'd been about a bit, and then it's so weird. So anyway, they searched. The point is, the judge searched Indiana law and found no place where driving 85 miles an hour on the highway is illegal. Quote, when prudent. and they set his pals free. There was no speed limit on the highway, apparently, and they said he was going too fast. Now they're fighting. The judge and the prosecutor are fighting here, and they were exchanging, quote, insulting epithets in court with each other, which sounds amazing here. The prosecutor's held in contempt and assessed a $200 fine and a 48-hour jail sentence here.
That's the thing about judges.
They won.
They've got the trump card. You lose right away
that means you got to do whatever they says.
Contempt.
Say it sucks. You're done. They just take you away.
Right.
Shit, I didn't do anything.
Oh,
yeah, you did.
Damn it.
Did too.
I forgot I can't say that.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like Texas state troopers.
Right.
They rule the land. They fucking
whatever they say goes.
Yeah. So the prosecutor said, quote, if there's any investigation to be done, it should be of this court, as he screamed as he was dragged out of the court by bailiffs, which is fucking hilarious here. So they fought for a judgeship or something and hated each other. So May 1946. What does Kelly want to do?
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ, I've been through the ringer here. Right. This nightclub business is tough. You know what I think I'll do? I think I'll run the Indy 500.
He's going to go.
I'll go back.
He's going to run it, or is he actually going to drive it?
No, he's going to run the infield. Just jogging around it. He goes back to the Indy 500, and they go, fuck no, we're not letting you in. You haven't raced in years.
Right.
You're a fucking lunatic and a menace to society in general. Just a general menace to polite and impolite society. You're just an asshole. No. So he sues them
really?
For $50,000. $50,000 damage suit was filed by him
for not allowing him to participate.
Yeah, they said that the Speedway is, quote, attempting to control the outcome of the 1946 race by elimination of him from competition. So he said he's, if I'm there, then obviously their guy can't win because I'm going to win because I'm me.
Because I'm going to take it.
Because I'm insane.
Because I'm the best.
Yeah, he said that he attempted to enter a car into the race, but that the Speedway, quote, under a pretext refused the entry. He said that his suit said he, quote, is feared by many of the drivers. This is what he says in his court documents, that they didn't want him in because he was going to win. He's feared by many of the drivers because of his fearless, daring competency. Wow, that's some way of putting it here. Daring competency. Fearless competency is a weird two words to put together. He said the plaintiff is, the Speedway had said that, quote, the plaintiff is incapable of driving a race car in response, which, I mean, he did win 10 years ago. He's capable of driving it. Maybe not well.
10 years ago, though.
So, December 1946. He's arrested again here, not shocking, for traffic violations and assaulting a police officer again. He just does not give a shit. He's arrested for, driving while intoxicated, speeding, failing to make a boulevard stop, making an illegal U-turn, and failure to have a registration. So pretty much
that's a lot.
Everything you can get arrested for while driving.
Everything.
Other than not having wheels on your car. This is the only thing I think he missed. This is it here. They arrest him, and while at the police station booking him, he punches an officer Vineyard in the face and breaks his nose.
God, he's good at this.
He just sucker punches people and breaks their nose.
He loves punching cops.
He says he was defending himself.
Why?
Which is tough against cops. Yeah. He said that the cops just jumped him for no reason in the police station, and he had to defend himself.
Okay.
Which that's what when cops beat on you, the problem is you can't defend yourself because then they beat on you worse,
right.
and then they say he took a swing at us, and then you're in more trouble. It's bad. That's why cops shouldn't be beating on people. Yeah, right. That's why it's tough when cops beat on you. Right. That's why that's like a super abuse of power because you can't say I was fighting back.
Right.
Yeah, can't say he hit me first with a cop.
Right.
They're like, yeah, then he can hit you as much as he wants because he's a cop. You can't hit him back. Right. It's the fucking point of the whole thing. So the trial for this is continued 3 different times. It's delayed 3 different times in early 1947. So finally, in April of 1947, he goes to trial. Trial lasts more than 2 hours as there's testimony from the officer who he punched, other officers who watched it. They declared that declared that the defendant was belligerent at the time of his arrest.
I believe him. At
5th Street and Mount Vernon Avenue. He struck Officer Vineyard, breaking his nose when they attempted to book him, which is fucking hilarious. Now, there is testimony on his behalf. And that is from a young lady who I'd like you to remember. It is his secretary with this whole operation. Her name is Naomi Roberts. Remember the name Naomi. Her last name will change. Naomi Roberts of San Diego. It's also his girlfriend at the time.
Oh, no.
Naomi. She's a pretty young blonde who has no business with this fucking doughy guinea.
Right.
Put it that way. Now, she says here, she testifies that they were, that she was also at the police station when he was brought in, and she saw Vineyard quote throttle and strike Kelly before Kelly retaliated, and Vineyard emphatically denies hitting him first. Petillo testified that he had been that he drove from San Diego to San Bernardino, then to Los Angeles and back on the night of his arrest. He said he wasn't intoxicated, he was just very tired because he was driving around, and he said that that he had several drinks in Los Angeles, but he wasn't intoxicated. He's just been up all night driving and drinking, but he's not intoxicated.
That doesn't make any sense.
Officers testified they found a half-empty bottle of liquor in his car also, in addition to all this. He's found guilty.
Yeah.
So, he is granted, you, sir, may fuck off probation for beating the shit out of a cop
drunk.
With a long criminal record.
Wow.
That's the thing. He could have got jailed just for the shit he did on the road, never mind punching the guy.
He's lucky to be alive.
That's it. Found guilty. $50 fine on the battery charge of the cop. $50 for punching a cop in the nose. He also found him guilty of driving while intoxicated, speeding, and failing to make a boulevard stop, and fined him a total of $100 or 50 days in the county jail, whichever your choice wants to do here. So he's acquitted of making an illegal U-turn and failing to have a registration. Yeah. He's acquitted there. He doesn't have the money right then. The judge grants him a stay on the sentence until noon the next day, when he said he could get the $150 then to not go to county jail. Okay. So you'd think he's going to calm the fuck down here. You would imagine so.
Well, he's been caught now. There's a punishment for his behavior at this point.
He's on the record as just a complete jackass at this point, and that was 47. Now, July 1st, 1948, he's a wanted man. Nobody knows where he is, and he's on the lam. Let's just give you the newspaper headline of the day. Quote, Petillo, auto race driver, hunted as a slasher of woman.
Oh, he's slashing women now?
Let's talk about this shit. Yeah. Police are alerted that he's basically he has a 12-year-old car that he might be fleeing in. He could be anywhere. It's for slashing the face of his former secretary, Mrs. Naomi, his old secretary, testified for him, now named Schaffner, who just got married.
Why would he do that?
She's 25 years old.
Oh, you dick.
25 years old, described as a pretty blonde.
Yeah.
Mrs. Schaffner is the daughter of a minister in Lebanon, Indiana. You can't slash the minister's daughter in the 1940s.
Dick.
Christ almighty. Are you kidding me? And a mother of 2 children by a former marriage.
Sliced her face?
Petillo said that Petillo, quote, cut her from temple to chin with a razor blade in his room in a downtown hotel because she refused to return to him after breaking off a romance.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. We'll talk about how this happened. Her and her new husband, Roy Schaffner, who's a welder. He's 29 years old at the time. Now he's dead, more than likely.
Probably.
Very dead, probably. Yeah. He'd be 100 years old, more than 100 if he wasn't dead. They were living in this hotel, and Schaffner was asleep, the husband, when Naomi was called to Petillo's room by a call. She just got a call that, quote, an old friend wanted to see her, but didn't say it was Petillo. Petillo had checked into the hotel under an alias of Joe Mayo.
Oh, boy.
Okay? So once she got there, he barred her. He stopped letting her. Didn't want to let her leave. This is fucking nuts, man. Didn't want to let her leave. He beat her and slashed her. He checked into the hotel to lure her there, got her to the room, attacked her, and screamed, "Why did you do me like you did?" and slashed her face.
What the fuck?
This is crazy. She said she slumped to the floor and then he disappeared and took off. So this is fucking nuts. She had to go to the hospital, receive 40 stitches in her face, and she was reported in fair condition. Police talked to her, and she also said that he sent 2 letters in the past year threatening to kill kill her.
Oh my God.
And that she would have never gone if she knew that it was him there. It's the Roosevelt Hotel at Capitol Avenue and Ohio Street here. Man, this is crazy shit. So he's going to be obviously charged with some crimes, as you might imagine here. He's charged assault with a deadly weapon. It is assault and battery with intent to kill. So basically attempted murder.
Right.
Is what that is. So also in the same newspaper article, I found, and this is fucking hilarious. Okay, this is way funnier than slashing a poor young woman here. A guy who called himself a bishop, this was just a newspaper article from the 40s here, a bishop of the Soul Saving Army of America, okay, this is his church, was held for a $2,000 bond for investigation following his arrest on a vagrancy charge late Thursday afternoon after he had not made bond. He's a guy named Leroy Strickland. He's 54. He said he wrote on a piece of paper, quote, "Since my arrest, I've been stricken with a chronic nervous affliction and cannot talk anymore." So he can't be questioned, is what they're saying here. He had $1.70 on him. That's what he told police. He only had $1.70 on him, and they searched his pockets to reveal $301.70.
Oh, that's a lot.
And then they searched his trailer home and found another $406.04. And basically, he is being questioned for traveling around the country bilking people out of money. He's like a roaming tent bullshit preacher.
Yeah.
Is what he is.
He's a slime ball.
And he's a slime ball.
And now he doesn't know how to talk.
And he's lost the gift of speech. Which is pretty fucking amazing.
I don't want to talk about it.
So, So Kelly, by the way, he didn't get arrested for that. He's charged. They have charges out for him, but they can't find him.
Right.
He's on the lam.
He's running.
He's on the lam. He's running. So July 4th, Independence Day, 1948, in Owasso, Michigan, he gets in a race in public while he's wanted by the police.
Yeah.
It's a 100-mile race. He wins the race.
What?
He wins a $113 prize, which is hilarious. He's in the winner's circle. He gets out of the car. He stands next to the car. They start taking all sorts of pictures. And then the sheriff comes over and fucking arrests him because he's an idiot. He's literally standing there while the newspaper takes pictures of him while he's wanted for slashing a fucking young girl's face. That's amazing. The fucking hubris on this guy.
That's balls.
They won't get. The sheriff said too, this is as close as you can get to being pulled over while racing. Yeah. I would say. Yeah. The sheriff said they knew he was racing and they were just found out about it and they were like, well, we'll just wait for him to finish and then we'll arrest him. We'll know where he's going to be.
And he won.
They were like, even better. So there's newspaper pictures of like him smiling one second and the next second a police officer like grabbing him by the arm and him looking over. Hilarious.
He's like, what do you need, sir?
Yeah. It's so fucking funny. Which they were it was like a big comeback race. They were calling him the Cinderella Man.
Oh,
that's what
Jesus.
The press made a big deal out. Oh my God, the guy that won the 500 12 years ago or 13 years ago, and he's back and he's racing again. Then they're like, because he's dragged away by police.
Except he stabs women.
It's fucking amazing.
Jesus.
This is fucking ridiculous. So they give him a bath in the jailhouse to get the race grit off of him, and then they in a long distance telephone interview with the Indianapolis Star, he says he doesn't know anything about the case. He's going to fight extradition. He says that he said that he was arrested and he doesn't understand why. He doesn't get it. He doesn't know anything about it. They asked him if he was at the Roosevelt Hotel last Tuesday, and he said, quote, "Why, I haven't been there for weeks." Yeah,
also, I lost my ability to speak.
Why? I haven't been there for weeks. And by the way, you got a pen? Very nervous. She said, quote, "She's just trying to pin something on me. See?
It's amazing the way they speak.
It's so funny. He said that he was in Indianapolis last Tuesday, but he never went in the hotel. He said, I stayed at a motel on West Washington Street. I don't know anything about it. He claims that he was sleeping peacefully on Washington Street there, in the motel when, before 3 a.m., when and she claims that a bellboy, because the woman, Naomi, says that a bellboy knocked on her door and told her an old friend wants to see you downstairs. He said, I was asleep when that shit happened. She says the bellboy led her to a second-floor room, and then Petillo pulled her into the room, punched her, and said, why did you do me like that, and slashed her in the fucking face. Wow. So crazy. They told him of the charges, and Petillo said, quote, that's good. I don't know. Then he says, why, this is amazing. Quote, why I didn't beat her up. He said, well, a couple of months, this is amazing, Jesus Christ. Why I didn't beat her up. Why a couple of muscle men started to beat me up twice during the last month, and I think she had something to do with it. A couple of muscle men. Why? He started the sentence out that was not a question with why twice in a row. Why I didn't beat her up. Why a couple of muscle men started to beat me up twice during the last month, and I think she had something to do with it. So he's saying not only did I not beat her up, she's actually responsible for trying to get people to fuck me up.
She's sending goons.
Yeah. Now, she said that Petillo had beaten her several times while she worked for him in California as a secretary. Wow. He just beat her all the time. And, so that was it. He said that she would throw a phone at her in the past. He's beat her. He's threw phones at her and all sorts of shit. He says he's not going to waive extradition. He says, quote, if they let me go, I'll be back in Indianapolis in 7 hours.
Can't wait to race.
Can't wait to race. He said, I'd planned on racing quite a bit up around here. I'm broke and need that money. That's what he said. It's amazing. He gets arrested while winning a fucking race. They said that the sheriff said deputies went to the track right as the race started, but the sheriff gave the deputies, quote, I gave the deputies permission to let him race. I don't know. I wanted to see how he did. No. Maybe he'll die. Maybe he'll go up in a fireball.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
End of story.
Wouldn't that be ejected?
Great? Yeah, he's ejected into the infield. Oh, well. Story over. So
his body lands on the eye of the Indy 500.
Jesus Christ, man. Patillo said, quote, I can't understand all the roar over this. This is great. Why, I can't understand all the roar over this. Why, I even had been on a radio program here advertising the race. He's like, I'm not hiding. Why, I'm not even hiding. I got to start doing that. Start everything. Why, I just went down there. Why, we started this at 12:30 at night. So, Jesus fucking Christ, man. So, he insisted that he often uses the name Joe Mayo, and that if there was someone in the hotel by that name, Naomi could have pinned it on him because she was his secretary and his girlfriend and knows the alias he uses. So,
she books him sometimes.
That's the thing. His attorney said it was common he's a celebrity, his attorney said.
Oh, boy.
It's very common for celebrities to use stage names or aliases when they check into places, so the masses don't come to bother this nightclub owner who beats Marines and slashes women and tries to rape dancers and shit. Very high demand for him. The lobby will be full. It's like the Beatles, screaming teenagers for a fat middle-aged fucking criminal. Jesus Christ, man. Naomi says that she was married after she stopped working for Petillo as a secretary. Then she started getting threatening notes from him saying, quote, I'll kill you or scar you for life, unquote. That's quite the letter.
Fuck.
This is fucked up, right? How fucked up is this?
That letter is scarring enough.
I'll kill you or scar you for life is scary.
Yeah.
That's even like, wow, this guy just really wants to hurt me. The whole thing is shocking.
Yeah.
But not nearly as shocking as the sales, Jimmy. More
Jesus
sales.
Christ.
That's right. If you happen to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, like we'll be for Small Town Murder next month, live, sold out, so fuck it, we don't have to plug it. In 1948, if you happen to go back in time all the way to 1948 and you happen to see a Spiegel's department store, I'd like you to stop in and get a portable two-way radio for $24.95. You can get yourself a portable camp ice box that's watertight, holds 8 pounds of ice, rust-proof lining, Jimmy, $4.95 here. You can get a folding cot. It folds compactly, $4.65.
Okay.
Fine for camping, it says. So you can get you a level wind casting reel for $3.98, or a tough cover golf ball, 49 cents each, or 3 for $1.20.
This seems like a deal deal.
That seems like a deal there. Course master balls, lots of life, it says.
So stick around 13 years and kick Jeffrey Dahmer's mom in the belly.
Do that too. Yeah, it'll be really weird at the time, and you'll probably get sent to jail for it because you just kicked this pregnant woman. That's crazy.
I promise you're doing us a favor.
But it's worth it, trust me. So I also found in this paper a list of the highest priced actors, what the highest paid actors
in
at
1947
the time made in 1948.
Oh, I can't wait.
Their titles. We'll just do the top couple. Highest priced actresses, Hedy Lamarr.
Really?
Hedy Lamarr was the highest priced actor, highest earning actor completely, more than the highest priced male actor as well. $279,800
for one movie.
For the year.
For the year.
But I mean, that's like making $5 million now, basically. Okay. That's a lot. Maureen O'Hara made $199,000. A couple people we've heard of. Shirley Temple made $135,541. There, Marlene Dietrich and Barbara Stanwyck made $100,000 each. Ginger Rogers made $84,478. Now, actors, Cary Grant made $278,125.
Okay.
So less than Hedy Lamarr. Bob Hope made $275,000. Bob
Hope was killing it, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely, forever. He had a big television contract. Yeah. Danny Kaye made $133,000,
Danny Kaye,
which is pretty good here. So yeah, not too shabby. Now Petillo's held in jail for 3 months on $5,000 bond because he's unable to come up with $5,000 bond, and he's unable to hire his own attorneys.
Okay.
He has to go with a public defender. So January 18th, 1949 here, he is going to court. He will be convicted of assault and battery with intent to kill, which is not good here. Now, in court, for the sentencing comes along. Naomi is in court with a big giant scar from her temple to her chin. Pretty blonde girl with a big giant scar that you caused is not going to go well in court. This is
from her temple to her chin. That's
to her chin.
Fucking fish hook.
Just across her face.
Wow,
like a fucking gangster. That's some crazy gangster shit.
My God.
Petillo. He said that he was. He said he didn't do it, and the judge tells him he pleads with the judge to reconsider the case. He says, I didn't do it, but the judge says there's no question who inflicted the wound here. He says, quote, there can be no question about who inflicted the wound. The only question is whether you did it with an intent to kill her. But you definitely did it. You, sir, may fuck off. He will be sentenced to 1 to 10 years in prison.
That's okay.
It's a big window.
Yeah.
That's a big...
the cable company.
Missing space there.
That's a lot.
So, he is sentenced to that. Naomi is scarred for life.
Yeah.
She testifies against him. 1 to 10 years in prison.
Okay.
Which doesn't seem like... I don't know.
Not near enough.
Not for a guy with this kind of record.
No.
You go down his record and you're like, you've been arrested for punching police officers so often.
Also a guy who has threatened to do something and then fucking did it.
Yeah. Plus just, I don't know, the 1 to 10, I'd just go, like, how much can I give this idiot? Because he's an
8 to 10?
asshole.
Can we do that?
I mean, imagine, this guy's got a fucking kid at this point that's about 22 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine that poor bastard who shares his fucking name.
Yeesh.
I mean, that's embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. But not nearly as bad as I feel for Kelly Petillo,
oh boy,
electronics derivative sales trader and associate at Citibank in the New York City metropolitan area. She went to Rutgers, Jimmy. Kelly Petillo, the MENA program coordinator at European Council on Foreign Relations in London, England. That sounds important. And finally, Kelly Petillo, an interior designer from Spain. So our second mistaken identity interior designer ever here. Not too shabby. So he's sent to prison in 49, and he is kept for 6 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they didn't let him out after 1.
Good.
The judgment, apparently in prison, he was a real asshole, too.
I'm sure of it.
And caused a lot of trouble. Yeah. I mean, imagine if you have this guy who's got this quick temper, isn't scared of fighting Marines and cops and everything else, and you put him in an environment with a bunch of other guys.
As a survivor.
Who are trying to take advantage of each other. He's going to fucking... Plus, just a short temper. Somebody does one little thing. You move my comb, he's going to fucking, beat them with the closest object.
He's going to melt the comb down.
That's probably
Make a
true.
shiv.
Sharpen
Yeah.
it. Yeah, he's the Shiv.
Yeah.
Kelly the Shiv Petillo. He can finally live up to his name. Kelly the Shiv. I don't know if we want to put Kelly the Shiv in Gen Pop, do we? I think we'll keep him to himself, right?
Find the right place to be, though.
Kelly the Shiv. August 29th, 1955, he is paroled.
Okay.
Finally. Part of his parole agreement is he's not allowed in Indiana.
Okay.
Stay the fuck out of Indiana, you asshole. He's allowed to go back to California, to his home. He can stay the fuck out of Indiana.
How big of a piece of shit you got to be for Indiana to
not
evict
want
you? Yeah.
You could tell me I'm never allowed in Indiana again, and I go, all right,
yeah.
that's fine. That's
deal.
That's cool. It's easy.
Bye.
Make sure I don't have a connection in the Indianapolis airport. I think we might be going to Indianapolis next year in 2020.
I hope so.
Maybe. I'd want to go
like
there.
To see it.
But after that,
never again.
Never again. Take it or leave it. So I'm just kidding. So August 29th, 1955 is when he's paroled. May of 1956. Now, he was paroled to his son, who is now Dr. Kelly Petillo Jr. He's a very respected dentist at this point. Yeah, he's done very well for himself. Enough to where the judge tasked him with keeping watch over his father.
Keep an eye on this dick.
Paroled into the custody of his son. How sad is that shit? This is one of the best junior outcomes we've ever had, though.
Certainly.
He's a doctor, for Christ. He's like, I'm not driving shit.
There's still travesty because
I'm going to school.
Right.
Yeah. He said, they asked him, where might your father be? And he said, he'll probably head for the track. That's what he said. Look at the tracks, and that's where you're going to find him. He's on the lam for a whole nother year.
What?
a whole year. He's on the lam for fucking a year, wanted by the cops, missing from parole. May 24th, 1957, he is arrested at the Indianapolis 500.
What was he doing there? Watching?
Showed up looking for a car to drive.
Oh, my God.
What are you talking about? A car to drive? What the fuck are you talking about? You haven't been in this race in fucking 20 years. You can't just show up and say,
anybody here got a car?
How y'all doing? I'm wanted for all sorts of shit. No, I'm on parole because I'm giving old fellow one. Now, why I deserve a race. Why I deserve another race, see?
Why, give me a chance.
Why, give me a chance, fella. They're like, you're talking like you're from the 20s. We can't give you a chance. Holy shit. Showed up, look, literally was like, who's got a car I can use? I'm Kelly Petillo. Remember me? I won this shit. They're like, what? When? Oh, 22 years ago? Pre-war?
All right.
Like, that doesn't... What?
Nice helmet, pussy.
Yeah, nice helmet, pussy. That's great. Where's your sweater and your fucking tie? You guys race without shirts and ties? What the fuck is this sport coming to?
Nice jumpsuit.
Fucking bums.
You're not even going to catch on fire.
See, he tries to go there like a wrestler going under a mask. Yeah. Lost a loser to leave town match. It's not me. I swear. Wow. So 1957, the State Prison Parole Board adds 11 months and 29 days to his sentence for this. It's a parole violation. This means his 1 to 10-year sentence, which would have expired in early 1959, will now run until January 15th, 1960. Shit. So now he's got that going on. February 1958, he wants to be released. He has a hearing for his release. He claims that he was illegally arrested and was denied extradition. He said he signed no waiver for a return to where he was there and was represented by incompetent counsel.
Oh boy,
I'm innocent.
Right.
By the way, you got a car I can use to race around this track quick?
Well, I've been railroaded.
By the way,
I railroaded myself, and now you guys have done it too.
I once hit a railroad with my car. So, they go, you're a fucking idiot. Denied. So, February 1959, he wants out of jail. This would have been after his 10 years expired. Right. He's saying that he's being held for an extra year on bullshit. They weren't allowed to do that, is what he says. He's denied a new trial then, though. He said that he wants a habeas corpus hearing. He says, quote, I was sentenced to 1 to 10 years on January 17th, 1949. The way I see it, see? The way I see it, the race was over on January 17th, 1959. But they've still got me, see? That's what he says.
We're still running laps around here.
He literally said, the way I see it, the race was over on January 17th, 1959, see? Wow. The parole board is requiring him to serve out 22 months that he was on parole. That's what he was on the lam, fucking missing. He says, quote, the parole board told me I'd get special treatment because I was a big shot. That's what he says. Now he's trying to blow up the spot of the parole board.
And he's trying to go, don't you know who I am?
He then said, quote, I said, I'm no big shot. I just won the 500 one time. So he was trying to be like, hey, I'm just one of the regular people here.
They tried to say he's a big shot.
They tried to say, they tried to treat me like I'm some kind of big shot.
I'm a big deal.
I'm a regular guy.
But I'm just a guy.
I can't even get one of my dancers to have sex with me. I beat her up. That's how bad I am.
Slash her damn face.
I have to make up to get a fake name to get my ex-girlfriend to come see me so I can slash her face. You know how hard that is? Jesus. Now, when he gets to court, in court is the old prosecutor from the case, the original case where he slashed his girlfriend's face. He says, quote, I'm not bitter. I figure I was railroaded on a bum rap.
He said it.
He said that. He said, quote, railroaded. But I'm not bitter. I figure I was railroaded on a bum rap. I had some good days, like in 35. That's what he said. So, some good days. He said they're all gone now, though. So,
we know.
We know that, mister. March 3rd, 1959. He's still trying to get another hearing to get out of jail here. Now, state parole officials had added the year, like we said, but he said they never proved bad time. They never proved that Petillo incurred bad time during his parole violation. So they said he's trying to say I didn't do anything, basically, but he did. He returned to Indiana. Anyway, the judge overrules a motion for freedom here on him and says no. They said that his lawyer said that he was denied justice and that he recommends a full pardon, as a matter of fact. He said, I think we should just pardon this guy, apologize to him, give the man his razor blade back. What are we talking about here? Matter of fact, does anyone have a car he can drive in the 500? Because he's really ready, I think. The governor said he was overwhelmed with legislative affairs but promised a full investigation of the Petillo case. Now, March 23rd, 1959, this is like 2 weeks later, the governor was not fucking around. He somehow pushes some shit through the court to get Petillo released on March 23rd, 1959. Wow. So it went from no way, no chance in hell to the governor saying, you're out in fucking a matter of weeks, which is bonkers.
Re-election campaign donation.
Something happened. I don't know. He was a fan of the races. I don't know what it was. I was at that race in 35. It was magical.
It's a big day for me as a kid.
His stocking-clad head going around that track over and over again. Boy, he had the best Windsor knot in the whole bunch. So he's released from prison. Guess what he wants to do?
Drive.
He wants to race.
Yeah,
he wants to race. He said that he was he's complaining in public. He said he was held beyond the maximum sentence. How dare they? Obviously. He said, time is running out, though. Now that I'm free, the whole thing would be better if it was just forgotten. Yeah. Most people that slash some poor fucking woman's face probably would like the whole thing to be forgotten eventually.
It also would be better if it didn't happen.
It'd be better if people just didn't bring up that whole slashing a girl's face for no reason thing that I did back there. So he got his release from prison. He said he has immediate plans to return to racing. He is currently 56 years old, which is a little old for racing. Old. I mean, not old, but for reaction times and reflexes when you're going 180 miles an hour is a different fucking story.
Behind the wheel of a vehicle for hours on end.
Yeah, it's not.
You got to pee at
your
some
body's
point.
different. Yeah, it's just there you go, too. Yeah. What if your prostate?
How much do you pee?
You rattle your prostate right out of you.
That's got to be all day.
Yeah, so he said that he was jacked about the potential of a supercharged automatic valve 2-cylinder internal combustion engine that he's perfecting. Okay. That's what he said he wanted to do. Supercharged automatic valve 2-cylinder internal combustion engine. I don't know what the fuck any of that is.
How many cylinders?
Supercharged automatic valve 2-cycle internal combustion engine. Yeah. Not 2-cylinder. I don't know. It doesn't say.
2-cycle is just like it's a 2-stroke.
I don't know what I know it's like a dirt bike. But
right. Yeah. Your car's a 4-stroke.
Yeah. Supercharged automatic valve 2-cycle internal combustion engine.
A supercharged 2-stroke. Jesus, that's got to be fast.
Yeah. I don't know. He said he's perfecting it.
Okay.
He said his main interest is getting a chassis to which to test the motor.
Yeah.
Quote, prior to the 500 next year.
Oh, God. He wants to run that.
What?
Why is he doing that?
He said, quote, I've got lots of work to do, and I'll have to be hustling. He's 56 years old.
Wow.
He said that he told his tentative plans to drive the stock car circuit to raise money for promotion of his, quote, V-shaped engine.
Okay.
So he's got like
a V-twin.
It's a he said he's perfecting
four-cylinder?
He's running the Southern Circuit right now, running on dirt tracks and shit to get returned to the Speedway. Future plans include a promise that he will be a promoter at the stock track in Las Vegas, which is set to open in June. He wants to put his name on that, but you got to go into business with him. He says, quote, if that all works out, quote, I'll be back in the groove within a year.
Oh, Jesus.
See?
Back in the groove.
He said he was, he said he again says he didn't slash that girl's face. He said he's getting his motor squared away and hopes to drive the stock circuit for about a year. They asked about, what about that you haven't driven in the fucking Indy in like 25 years? Isn't that weird? And he says, I don't think it'll give me too much trouble. It's just what he said. He said, in the stock races, quote, aren't as tough as the 500 miler, but he thinks he'll be fine.
Why, I've done this before.
He says he drew up rough plans for the engine during his first stretch in prison and had revved up the engine several times after a year of construction before his return to Indiana. He says, quote, I was and still am awfully nervous about it, his chance to go to Indy. He said that the warden asked him about his nervousness, and he said, quote, you'd be nervous too if you had the tension I've been under waiting for this. Now, no one met him upon his release from prison. Not his kids, not anybody. He just walked out. Is any...
Everybody...
Taxi? Is the bus run past here, I guess? Prison officials said, quote, I don't know what he's going to do, but if I know him, it will have something to do with racing. So May 1959, he wants to race in the 500 this year. They tell him, fuck no. You haven't raced in forever. So he sues them. Again, he sues them, filed suit in circuit court. Jesus Christ, it is 2:41 a.m. He won the memorial. He won it in fucking 1935. He's asking for $50,000 in damages, charging that the Speedway and USAC officials refused to let him enter this year's race. He claims he went to the Speedway May 11th to fill out his entry blank and pay his fees, but that Henry Banks, the director of the USAC, denied him permission to do so.
Jesus, what a rat bastard.
Fucking bastard. I'll slash his face and beat his corpse with a bar stool. He's pissed off, obviously. This case is dismissed. So 1960, he tries to do it again. They deny him again, and it's fucking dismissed again. He sues again for $50,000.
He's got to stop this.
And again, he does. After that, he kind of gives up on it. He has a few more. He races a drop throughout the next 10 years or so, on some dirt shit and stuff like that. Where he can get a car to drive. Never does anything much more. On June 30th, 1970, he dies of emphysema.
Oh, no, he's a super smoker.
And who knows, the engines probably didn't help either.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Fucking shooting out black soot at him.
2 strokes. Oh, fuck.
But he dies of emphysema on June 30th, 1970. But that's not the last time we'll hear about him, because in 1988, he's elected to the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame.
What the fuck?
Yep.
How thin is that pool, James?
Everybody, our roster is not deep, okay? You have to think about this. Think about this really, how many last names should start with. Okay, all we have baseball.
Yeah.
We have DiMaggio, we have Yogi Berra, we have there's a lot of great Italian baseball players, a ton of them. They go back. Every fucking manager. Half the World Series rings are held by Italian managers, okay? We're good at that shit. A lot of good baseball players, but even then, that died out kind of in the, and then now there was boxers. We had Rocky Marciano, we had Graziano, we had these guys in the 40s and 50s. You heard of any Italian boxers lately?
Not lately.
Paul Spadafora. Remember him? From a few episodes back?
Didn't work out great.
Didn't fucking work out that great.
He had Jimmy Garoppolo playing for the Niners.
To say, how many fucking Italian football? Once in a while, you'll get a quarterback in there. Once a Dan Marino, a Garoppolo. Every 2 decades, you'll get an Italian quarterback or something. But nope, we just don't.
You don't think Brady's family was the Bradyopolos?
I don't think they were the Bradiolios, and then they fucking shortened it. No. And then basketball?
Yeah.
How many fucking 6'11" Italian guys do you fucking know? How many Italian guys do you know? They're all 5'8". They're not 6'8".
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. So we're not going to get a lot of those either. So what do we get? Ugats. We get this fucking guy.
One.
He won the Indy 500. He's going in. I don't care if he slashed the girl's face. We don't care.
Son of a bitch.
Fine. It's been 40 years is enough. Fine. Stick him in. But he's also, in 2009, he is inducted into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame as well. So that's
he's running sprint cars.
Running sprint cars, yeah, and he's inducted into the Hall of Fame there, and he does. So that's a big deal, I guess. And he died there. He's buried at the Pacific Crest Cemetery in Redondo Beach,
beautiful,
in L.A. I saw his gravestone.
Place.
It just says Kelly Petillo, and I can't remember what else it says on it. Something about racing. I don't know. Can't get enough of Kelly Petillo.
No.
Well, you can get on eBay decals for the model, his 1935 model car.
Right.
Because you can get one of those 1935 Red Lion whatever cars, and this is the decal set that comes on there. Yeah, all the decals that he had on his. The number 5. It wasn't all the sponsors back then. It was like number 5 and whatever. It's the 1935 Gilmore Special Kelly Petillo water slide decals. $8.49. Only 3 left. So that's kind of fucking
silk
neat,
hat
actually.
For the driver.
Little silk cap, little mechanic that comes with it who's on fire. It's pretty fucking crazy. That is our trip back in time. That is Kelly Petillo and the story of a crazy racer from back in the day, slashing faces, beating Marines, punching cops. Honestly, you don't get a lot more.
No.
We haven't had a lot of people crazier than him.
Right.
We've had like maybe 10, 12 that are crazier than him. And we're talking murderers aren't as crazy as him.
No. That's fucking banana stuff.
We've had murderers that are way saner than him, like on this show anyway. I mean, this was wild. So fucking, and he got to die at the end too.
Yeah.
So we got everything out of
Rest in pizza, sir.
That's very nice. Well done, Jimmy. So, that is Kelly Petillo.
Yeah.
And that is a punchy episode of Crime and Sports. Right now it is 2:45 in the morning. We're working on it hard here.
Phoenix time.
Phoenix time, yeah. So sorry it took so long to get up. We're getting it up as soon as possible. Thank you guys for listening. Please, if you like that episode, let us know. Get on Apple Podcasts, that purple icon. Give us 5 stars, or on Stitcher. Give us 5 stars. Tell us you're following instructions, following directions. They forced me to do it.
Yeah.
I'm doing this against my will. There's a razor to my face right now. Whatever you have to say to do it, man is going to beat me with a bar stool if I don't do this.
Yeah.
That's fine. Whatever it is that gets you to do it, please do that. And if that's not enough for you, if you're just a better person than that and you need to help us out more, you can go to shutupandgivememurder.com, where you can get all of the merch there, all the shirts and overnight bags and shoes, and there's all sorts of shit on there. And they're working on hats, we've been told.
Great.
They're working on different hats. I think beanies and regular hats they're working on Threadless, so hopefully we'll get that. You can find all those right from shutupandgivememurder.com right there. Also, you can follow us on social media, because very, very soon the new slate of shows for 2020 is going to come out. They're going to go live, the live shows.
Right.
And Crime and Sports, there's not going to be that many of them. There's going to be way more small town murders, and the Crime and Sports are going to be like in comedy clubs, smaller venues, 400 seats, places like that. They're going to fucking go fast. So you want to get follow us on social media so you have the in on that ahead of time before maybe people, because a lot of times we'll announce it on there before we put it out on the show.
Yep.
So do that. Follow us. It's at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, and at Small Town Murder on Instagram. And we post crime and sports stuff on there as well. So do all of that. And if you want to be one of our heroes, who I don't see a list in front of Jimmy right now, which is a problem.
No, there's an airport in between me and that.
Jimmy did not complete his list for the week here.
I'll compile that come Thursday.
So yes, you can listen to that at the end of Small Town Murder this week. Apologies there, but I mean, Jesus Christ, we barely made it to recording, so we're lucky to even get this out. So we apologize. It's impossible. We apologize for the lack of shout outs. But honestly, man, if you want to be one of these producers who, Christ, man, we are blown away by what you people do for us and everything like that. we can make this show whatever we want because of you guys doing that. And that's what's amazing. We can turn down ads for things we don't like. Here's what our thing is. We don't do medical shit.
Nope.
We don't do financial shit.
Nope.
That's that stuff we can't verify.
And it's other than also
we don't want someone getting sick
so
because
personal.
we told them to do that. We're not doctors.
I can't. You guys.
Yeah, I don't. We personally can't do tons and tons of research on a medical product to see if it's good enough for you to take. And a financial thing, we don't know shit about that stuff.
So
dumb. Something can sound great to us, and it could, you could be bilked like Bernie Madoff bilking people, and we would have no idea, and then we wouldn't want to be responsible for that.
Right.
So if something different, we have anything Simply Safe. You know what? It fucking works. It's a nice product. We like it. Things like that. Harry's, great razors. They goddamn work. All the sponsors we have are because we like them, and that's it. So, and that's because of you guys ponying up money all the time for us and making it so we can be autonomous and do our own goddamn show. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you want to be a part of that, you can do that very easily. Patreon.com/crime and sports or over at PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. You can make a one-time donation there. You can get to both of those links right at crimeandsports@gmail.com. Well, that's not it. Shut up and give me murder. Oh boy, that's
shut up and give me murder.
You're falling asleep, and I just said the complete wrong website. Wow,
that's all right.
It is 3:00 in the morning. So that said, guys, thank you for doing that. We'll have more shouts on Thursday. Thanks for every damn dime you give us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving a shit that the episode's even up late. We're trying to get it up for I guess, I don't know, East Coast commute time, I guess. We'll see. But let's do that. Let's go edit this. You go home. I'm going to go edit this thing.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. But before that, what if they wanted to get a hold of you?
You can find me at Wisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And I got to go set an alarm. Where can I find you?
You can find me at Jimmy P is Funny, or just copy and paste my last name from the show description. Whatever. I don't care. It's so late. Whatever you feel like doing. Follow me if you want to. I don't fucking know. I don't say anything that wonderful. Nothing that's like,
I'm not changing the world.
I'm not changing the world. It's nothing where you're going to go, oh, that's brilliant. Finally, now I know how to do that. Now I know how to relate to my child. Right. It's never going to happen. I'll tell you that right now. You'll be like, oh yeah, that does suck. He's kind of right. Maybe once in a while.
That's what we'll get.
That's it. So follow us there. Do all of that. Please join us next week where we're going to have another goddamn crazy case. Awesome. Next week we have a thick one for you too.
Good.
It's a deep, thick one. And
what?
I don't fucking
Jesus
know.
Christ.
I don't know. At least it's not going to slash you with a razor. All right. Well, for Jimmy here, this is fucking James.
Let's get out of here.
Signing off.
All I hear is dicks.
On the way home, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I need you to stop off, get yourself a meaty, stuffed, cheesy Cavino. Okay?
Can't wait.
Do that. It's all good. Did you say where your shit was? Yeah, we did. Yeah. That's great. Live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.